Hello and welcome to the Sheep Seats Draft Extravaganza. I am your host through the next at least three drafts, probably not more. I am Matthew, aka Sheep, aka Dark Sheep, and we are kicking off this first round with some excellent guests. So let's bring them on here. We've got Nick Schlane. Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm great. What's going on, Sheep?
Oh, I'm just living the dream, as people that say those sorts of things say.
People that hate their jobs say, yeah.
That maybe that's why I say it so often. Oh, who's watching this? If anybody's not super familiar for you, who are you, and what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, yeah. So doing some MLB DFS content for FTN Daily. My MLB betting content is over at the Action Network, and doing some MLB DFS and MLB season long for Rotoballer right now. That's where we're at right now.
Excellent. And the man on the other side of the screen, I guess. I don't know where I was going with this. Doing really well. Is James McCool. James, how are you?
Overall, I'm fantastic. I'm always good. It's always nice to be able to jump on a stream and talk some things. This is more unique than what I usually do. Most people know me for DFS stuff, obviously. But I can talk shit with the best of them. So
I knew that I could say any sport, which if to plug to plug Patered Analytics, it's really like a one-stop shop of esports, regular sports, niche sports. So I know you can talk it all. So
yeah. Well, for those who do not know me, I own and run PaterDFS.com. I'm a frequent over at Roto Grinders on morning show. I'm co-author of Theory DFS with Jordan Blender Head. What's Jordan's last name?
Cooper.
Whatever. I'm there. Yeah, Cooper. There you go. That's so easy. How do I not know that?
Your business
partner. We've only
partner.
done two audio books with him.
My business partner that I have talked to every day for the last 3 years. Yeah, but I've contributed a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in DFS or game theory or decision theory or whatever, I'm your guy. So yeah,
I'll vouch. I'll vouch for. Oh, go ahead.
I'm also, a little known fact, a baker of bagels. If you hang out in the Pater Discord, you've seen me posting my bagel picks lately. Very proud of my ability to bake up some quality bagels lately. So pretty stoked.
Literal bread maker over here.
Yeah. Actual literal bread maker. Yeah. We bake not only winning lineups, but also bagels of both the normal size variety and the mini bagel variety. I did mini bagels last time.
Oh, and I saw some pizza crusts at one point.
Yeah. So pizza crust is fucking hard, bro. People think that bagels are really hard, but I, from firsthand experience, can tell you pizza dough is way fucking harder than bagels. Bagels, like, I don't know, and pizza dough has to have like the perfect combination of gluten development, and it's fucking rough, man. I haven't tried in a while, but I should try again next week now that I've mastered bagels.
Okay. How did I know we were going to be talking about gluten development 4 minutes into this? I just knew.
Yeah. The draft extravaganza where we talk bread skills. But the other thing that you bake is projection models, and that's really why I wanted to jump you in here. Before we get into this first draft, I just want to talk like a general what your model is seeing, and then Nick, what as a player and content developer, what you're seeing overall in the baseball landscape so far. So we came into the season with all this hyped up offensive environment's going to improve, etc. Steals are going to be up. So James, is that any of that coming true?
Yeah, for sure. I know that Underdog just posted their increase in steals so far on the year. It was sitting somewhere around an average of like 74, 75% over the last 4 years. And then this year it's now up to 79%. So the increase has been twofold. Not only has it been that players are trying to steal more, but also that they're getting caught stealing less. And we see that from both two different rules that were implemented at the beginning of the year. Pitchers only being allowed to have 2 pitch outs is massive. And it was something that I think maybe got swept under the rug a little bit. With the other change that was the bases were like a full dong piece larger or whatever on both sides. So like, not only are players able to run more, but they are also able to be more safe, able to be safe more often. So we've definitely seen an increase in stolen bases, and you can see it just in the counting stats too, right? Like Acuna is at what, 40 stolen bases already or something insane. And the leader of stolen bases was like John Berti last year, and he finished with what, 42 or something. Just like insane increases in stolen bases, and that has really changed not only the landscape for real life scoring and for betting and stuff like that, but it has changed DFS in a significant part, and I'm sure that it's changed best ball stuff as well. Like the way that you look at the upside of hitters is not tied to their power anymore. A lot of it is tied to the combination of their power and their speed.
So Nick, like on a daily and betting environment sort of thing, are you doing anything differently this year compared to previous years?
Yeah, I mean, getting a little deeper than just, plugging in all the guys with the best ISO. I think James kind of hit the nail on the head there, where it's like, it's not just about the power. There's definitely the speed. I mean, you can just see it in really simple stuff like runs per game for the teams. Like it used to be the bad teams would average like 3.5 or 3 runs per game. Now the bad teams are scoring 4.2 runs a game, it looks like. So the steals are way up. So you gotta look at that, of course. And then I mean, there's been a lot. This has been a tough season for me, honestly. There's been a lot of chalk with the hitting. It's not the way that I like to play necessarily. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different thing this season. I think I did see though that the batting average, I think people were talking about like with the shift being removed. That's what I was thinking of. The batting average, it's kind of just like variance. It hasn't been like, obviously there's guys like Corey Seager who are just like mashing, but league wide, I think it's only up. It's within a standard deviation. It's just like variance. It's not like that's been such a huge difference. But yeah, I mean, scoring's up league wide for sure.
So then is there we'll go back to your model, James. The thing I'm curious about, in one thing that you do differently than a lot of other model builders for baseball is that you work on somewhat of a shorter sample size and try to detect like the changes in environment and changes in team players, etc. So it tends to act faster on some people. Is there a team that it's like, I know you're usually projecting, salary based thing, but is there a team that it's usually, or few that are up compared to like what the field is thinking this year?
Yeah. So recently I did a study on RISP and runners in scoring position, because I have some proprietary stats for pitchers, right? Like I have true average, which anybody who knows me knows about, and I have expected home run per 9, and like I have those different proprietary things for pitchers, but I haven't really developed that much for hitters. So I kind of wanted to look at a team-based macro stat that would kind of give us an idea of how lucky or unlucky a team has been in terms of scoring runs. And I kind of zeroed in on RISP on that. Because if you think intuitively about what RISP is and how it interacts with the way that teams score runs, it's kind of really, really important to be looking at how lucky or unlucky teams are getting in relation to their BABIP with RISP. So a couple teams that have been well overperforming in that category have been the Giants and the Rockies. Both those teams have been well overperforming in RISP. And we would expect them to pull back moving forward. And then some other teams that I expect to be better in regards to their RISP and their BABIP with RISP would be the Padres first off, and then the Braves. which is a funny answer to give because everybody's like, oh, the Braves are just destroying everything. And it's like, that's right, they are, but not necessarily when runners are in scoring position. They hit a home run every single time that it's a solo batter, but whenever somebody's on base, they've been relatively unlucky. So I think that paying attention to stuff like that, that's one of the things that my model is going to do well. In terms of teams that have been better than people have expected or worse than people have expected, I think that people are still probably underrating the Reds a little bit. As soon as Ellie De La Cruz was called up, I said in the Discord that he was just Fernando Tatis Jr. 2.0. The dude can do so much, and he's so electric, and he just brings so much swagger to that team that I think from both a baseline and mental aspect, he's just a massive boost to what the Reds can achieve. So I think the Reds, people are still probably a little bit under on the Reds. I know for a fact a lot of people are under on the Mets. My models have the Mets as one of the best offenses in the league, like a top 5 offense in the league based on expected stats and where they should be. So those are two teams that I think in terms of power and actual like win potential, people are under on. People disregarded Oakland for a long, long time. In 2 ways. One, their offense was competent for a while there. For like a month and a half, the Oakland Athletics had a competent offense and were a team that you could certainly rely on for value. And then for the first like month and a half, it was just automatically just attack that fucking bullpen. Like their bullpen was historically bad. I have a stat over at Paydirt that's called HWSR, which is hits, walks, strikeouts ratio. And it kind of measures the efficiency of a pitcher, and in this case, a bullpen. And their HWSR ratio was like 21, and the next worst was 11. I mean, they were legitimately twice as bad. Their bullpen is twice as bad as any other team in the league. And so the first month and a half, you were able to just go after them, just attack them constantly. And there was like no downside to it. But as soon as people got on top of that and like started paying attention to it, their bullpen got better. And that's another thing that I think people have not been able to catch on with is the Oakland Athletics bullpen is not actually bad anymore. And if they were to want to try to win games, I think that they are a competent enough team. It's just like they don't want to. So I guess those are kind of like the main teams that I think my model has been picking up on. The Padres should have a really good second half of the year. The Mets should have a good second half of the year. The Reds, great second half of the year. And then as far as teams that probably are going to be way worse, it's hard to say. Probably Cleveland has been overperforming quite a bit because they just don't have anything that does really well in this form of the league. But yeah, that's a long way of saying that those are the teams that I think people have been wrong on.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that you said wasn't surprised you said the Padres. I think the stats on Bogarts, Xander Bogaerts specifically with runners in scoring position, he's been like the least clutch player like in history. It's like pretty crazy.
So if I know you don't really know the format too much, James, but if you had to guess, go back to Ellie De La Cruz, where do you think he goes in ADP? Just so there's pitchers, infielders, and outfielders in this. Yeah. Most of the DH guys are put into outfield, and he is an infielder. So
where do I think that he is going, or where do I think that he should?
Where do you think he's going?
Both. Yeah, both. You can say both.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think he's probably going like 4th overall, and I think he should probably be going like 7th.
Okay. He's going 11th.
Oh, yeah, he should be going higher than that. He's
there is an outfield premium in this.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's funny that you come and say that because basically the show's been very anti Ellie De La Cruz.
He's ridiculous. The dude is ridiculous. He's a walking fireworks show, man. Like he's good. He's good. Granted. After the All-Star break, now that there's some tape on him, I could see him taking like a step back for sure.
He strikes out a lot.
He does strike out a lot, yeah. And like one thing that we always have an issue with rookies, both pitchers and hitters, is like once there's a little bit of tape on them, once there's like a month and a half of tape on them, things start to get a little bit harder. Pitchers going to attack those weak spots. And then for hitters going after a pitcher, like especially a pitcher like I did a big breakdown on Osvaldo Bido, I think is the guy for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
His name?
Yeah.
I did a big breakdown on him like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, look, his baselines are fine, but he's not special. He has like a good slider, but once people get some tape on him, he's just gonna get fucking rocked. So after the All-Star break,
he was very bad at minors, both levels.
He was not good. The one thing I did say in that breakdown was like, he was in the minors for so long, he had to have figured out like a process to maximize his pitches. Whether it's tunneling, which I'm sure he got better at, or like figuring out what his best put away pitches are, or whatever. Like when you have that long of a minor league career, you're gonna figure some shit out. But that smoke and mirrors shit can only last so long. I mean, we see guys like Huascar Wanoa. I don't remember how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Starting last year, he had success with a fastball slider combo, and then teams got tape on him, and it was just like, oh well, he can't fucking do anything anymore because he's only got 2 pitches and neither one of them is special. So it's all about that tape. That's after like a month and a half, rookies start to struggle.
Yeah, because I have been talking so much down on him, I've been looking a little bit deeper into Ellie, and the thing that I noticed is that he has increased swinging out of the zone the last couple of weeks. So I don't know if that seems like something that major league pitchers will notice and like exploit if he doesn't figure it out. But like I said, or I have said, he's young and he's smart. He can also improve.
Yeah. He's gonna get it.
I would take him at like 25. I think that should probably be his ADP. Not what is it? It's like 11. I think it was like 14 earlier this week, maybe.
Yeah.
But I haven't been drafting him at all. But there's just too many other players that have proven track record. I think are going to be, I mean, there's so many. If you look at like the bad X stuff compared to ADP, the ADP is terrible on hitters, especially. So I've just been taking a lot of early pitchers and then just scooping up the hitting value later. I don't even mess around with guys like Corbin Carroll or Ellie De La Cruz, who are just, I mean, they're both going in the first round now.
Yeah, and that hype inflation, that's going to kill guys. I think that he legitimately can't. He has the potential to just be Fernando Tatis Jr. like through the rest of the year. He for sure does. But if there's an outfield premium, like that's another big part of it. I probably wouldn't take him in the first round if there's an outfield premium. And then I was trying to think through guys that, especially pitchers, that it's like, man, you really got to get those guys before you try to go to Ellie. And there's probably not that many off the top of my head, because I think that pitchers are probably going to get murdered in the second half this year. But I can see taking him like mid-second round. But I like him a lot. I wouldn't mind taking him at 11 or 15 or whatever. I'd be fine with that.
That was the last question I had here on my little list here. We'll start with you, Nick. Pitchers going into the second half. We saw a lot of guys go down in the first, well, quote unquote half. But I haven't actually looked to see if it was more than normal or if we just felt like it was more than normal because of the pitch clock. But what do you think about pitching for the second half in general and just based on like injuries so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much for the way of like predicting injuries really. So I'm pretty much like, I think the ADP for some of the pitchers is pretty bad too right now. Like, I think, if you compare, like I just pulled up like on FTN, like Vlad Sedler's underdog rankings from March, and have just been kind of looking at that compared to the ADP now. And it's like guys like Aaron Nola, Max Scherzer were going in the top like 30, right? And you can get those guys at pick 50 now. I mean, what's really changed? I mean, everybody knows, who's in the chat right now, the sickos, everybody knows the Mets and the Phillies have tons of games in the championship week. You know, I'm hoping, you know, Aaron Nola is the type of guy who just eats innings. You know, I mean, people are taking Zach Wheeler ahead of him. I mean, Zach Wheeler's been hurt a million times, right? So, you know, I know Aaron Nola hasn't had like a great season so far, but I mean, it's best ball. Like, you're getting his good starts, you're not getting his bad starts. So, I mean, if he has a really bad second half, I mean, he's also entering his free agency. His contract is up after this year. So, I mean, I think he's pretty motivated to have a big second half. So, I mean, I'm way exposed to guys like Aaron Nola, Dylan Cease, yeah, someone's mentioning Javier. I mean, Javier had 3 bad starts and no one wants to take. What was Javier going before the season? Pick 60, pick 55.
Yeah.
Now he's
even at the start of this contest.
Yeah,
even at the start of the
even
contest.
at the start of because it's literally been 3 starts that I mean, he's been awful. And like even a guy like Luis Severino, who I don't think I've drafted, but no one's drafting him, because he's given up like 40 runs in 40 innings. But I mean, before the season, he was going around pick 100. So I think there's so much overreaction already to what's happened in the first half that that's really how I'm approaching the pitching. Like the offense, I'm just kind of looking at the bad X stuff and then going off feel, and then I'm just looking at for pitching. I'm going off the preseason rankings and the schedule. You know, I want guys on the Brewers. You know, Freddie Peralta, Burns. Like Burns, what was Burns going before the season? Top 20.
He was in. Yeah, he was in the first round.
He was in the first round. Now he's at almost pick 50, and people are taking Blake Snell and Luis Castillo ahead of him. Like, get real. Come on.
I'll let you get in on. I know there was a little bit of a controversy recently about Corbin Burns and your side of the online world, James. Anything about Burns or Javier from your models?
Burns has gotten better. There was a while there where True Average just absolutely hated Burns. He just wasn't somebody that the models really liked, and his strikeout rates are still not near as good as what you would have wanted from a first rounder coming into the season. He has for sure gotten better though, and that's worth saying. As far as Blake Snell, like, man, he has just been absolutely unreal. Like he came into the All-Star break. Do you know what his strikeout percentage was? What his K rate was coming into the All-Star break?
40 something.
42%.
Yeah.
That's fucking Josh Hader numbers, man. Like that those are closer pitching for 6 innings numbers. And that just ends up being ridiculous. That said, I think that Burns, he's probably a little bit of a value at this point. I think that his strikeout rates are going to continue to be a little bit depressed, but pick 50 is probably a little bit too late on somebody who does have as good of a proven track record as he has, and I can buy that. There's a couple pitchers. I'm going to take a look and isolate by True Average for guys who I think would be decent values. Let's go greater than, what do we want this plate appearance filter to be at?
I'm starting with Matt Olson here. He's been pushed up from the back or from the second round to the first round, but I think rightfully so, especially as we keep saying Atlanta has they have the most games in the 4-week main contest period, and they have the doubleheader in the playoff week.
Yep.
So they have extra games. So and he's just fine to anchor your infield.
Speaking back,
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to note, Blake Snell has the second best True Average in the league over the sample that I'm running. He has a 206 True Average. It's right behind Spencer Strider at 203. So those guys look really, really good. Trying to find Burns here. He's probably a little bit higher.
Yeah, my thing with Blake Snell is just that he's been so good. He's been so efficient. It's like, do you really expect him to keep that up? And
no,
he's not right. And he's not an innings beast like an Aaron Nola or Burns. Like when they're on, like when those guys have been the last couple of years, those guys have been pitching over 200 innings. I mean, Blake Snell, he's more of a 6-inning pitcher. I mean, I know everyone freaked out in the World Series when Tampa Bay took him out after 6 innings, but I mean, he doesn't really go deep into games. I mean, he is now because he's striking out 12 guys a game, so he's able to go 7 innings on 100 pitches, but it's not really his thing over the course of his career. I was going to say, Sheep, do you ever just push up Austin Riley here just to get the correlation with Olsen unique combo?
No, I don't.
Okay.
There's too many outfielders here, I think, that I'm missing out on. Randy, Adolis, Robert's up here now. And Harper. And I think as far as, it's nice to get the correlation with Olsen, but I think as far as like individual players where Riley is going, I prefer Alonso and Goldschmidt and even Marcus Semien to him, even Devers. So
yeah, I agree with that. I just sometimes I will do that just to get because nobody else is doing that. So if you get to the final, you're going to be the only one with Olsen and Riley on your team, and the Braves have the most games and the best offense.
True.
I am huge on correlation in best ball stuff, especially like in these longer season long stuff. I don't think people correlate near as much. Me and Darksheep have actually had a back and forth on this at the beginning of the year when we were talking about best ball. We were going back and forth about if correlation was something that we focus on. And I know that he focuses on best player available, which I think is totally fine. But I do think that there should be more effort for a lot of people to correlate. Maybe not in this format specifically, but correlation in best ball is something that I don't think enough people do.
Well, and in this contest being a lot shorter, a 4-week period and then 3 2-week playoff periods, I have been valuing it more than I did for the big long contest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, you're right
about
I love the uniqueness of Nick. I've done Acuna Riley often, but you're right. I haven't really pushed Riley up to be with Olsen.
Well, yeah, but everyone's got Acuna and Riley.
That's right. Yes. Yep. Exactly.
So it's not unique if you do it. Yeah. So another one that I really like is because I was doing drafts this week and kept getting the 12th pick, and it gets real boring. So you're just like trying to think of different combos to do that people aren't getting. So I think my favorite one, if you get the 12th pick, is just to take Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia, because their ADPs are close enough that people aren't really getting those guys together either. It's not, as they're not on the Braves, they're not, they don't have all the games in the Olsen Acuna. That's pretty good, Chip. But I think that one's still good. Like I think even on the Badge Bros stream earlier today, Nez was saying Corey Seager should be a first round pick. I have him as like one of the best values in the early rounds too.
Yeah, I think even if you're going to go by potential volume, you could argue that Semien should be a first round pick too, just based on him playing every game in that offense.
Yeah, but he sucks.
Yeah, I have not drafted him either. I mean, he's not my guy for this, but
I want to also point out really quick that if you are drafting at the wheel, you're drafting 12th overall, you should value correlation even more, because when you put it in DFS terms, like correlation can net you so many more bonus points added on to your lineup because of the correlation coefficient between players. Like if you are already drafting 12th and you're already missing out on these guys who have much higher median projections, like you should be maximizing the correlation for the rest of your picks. Because you need it to try to catch up. You need to try to catch that ceiling game. So I wanted to give a quick thing here. So I just checked back in at my stats because my Ellie De La Cruz take earlier was purely based off him being a fucking baller. And the vibes.
Which is why he's being drafted there.
The vibe's so immaculate on that guy. But
the vibes are great on him.
I did just check, and I mean his baseline stats and my expected stuff, not really all that great. He's awesome. I want to clarify that again. But when we're looking at players who have 16 plus or 15 plus expected stolen bases. And he's at 16 right now. If you just set him up against other guys that have this stolen base potential, like he is hardly better than somebody like Corey Julks. He is worse than Tyro Estrada. He is worse than Bobby Witt. Like there's a lot of guys there that when you look at their like pure baselines and what you should expect them to accomplish moving forward, Ellie is kind of like not that. I mean, like this is kind of a hot take right now, but when you're looking purely at the stats, like Whit Merrifield is right there, and Whit Merrifield is free, right? So like,
he's surprisingly not free. I think he's going at 184. I feel like I guess that's free.
That's pretty free, man. That's like, I understand it's not actually free, but like, it's a significant discount off of 14th overall, right? So, it's interesting that when you look at the baseline stats, he doesn't pop near as much.
All right, so we do get Elbies here.
There you go.
I took Bo Bichette in between and kind of had a mix there. This is probably going to be like a 5-6 infield only sort of build. But you were talking about taking, and I know James that you're not going to hang out for the whole draft, so feel free to hop off whenever you need to. I appreciate you joining us. Yeah. But Nick, you were talking about pushing up pitcher, and so far in the first 2 rounds, like Strider, Garrett Cole, and Kevin Gossman, they're pretty much the first 3 guys always off the board, and then you kind of get a mix. Framber here went tonight, but I don't necessarily feel the need to take those first 3 guys when you're giving up the other guys around him. So how are you handling pitcher in now that you've had a handful of drafts? Are you bypassing those guys, or do you mix them in?
So I've taken Strider once. I took him at 12th overall. So I haven't been taking him when he's going at his ADP, which is 7.5. So I love Framber, but I don't take him until pick 33 or whatever his ADP is. So he got jumped a whole round here. I haven't taken Cole, haven't taken I mean, I don't think it makes sense to take Gaussman or Cole where they're going. The guys I like are Nola, Burns, the most because they're going so much later. Scherzer I like, going a lot later. Verlander I like. Cease I like. Let me see. Woodruff, Javier, Bieber. I mean, where was Bieber going before the season? I know he looks like worse, but I mean, he's still like anyone who's throwing the innings and it's like a strikeout per inning. Like I have no problem taking those guys in this contest.
I was off him at the start of this contest, but as he's falling, it's pretty crazy. He's going to pitch. I don't know what's going to happen in the AL Central, but he might end up on a better offensive team to support him if all is said and done. So the fall is I've been working him back in.
Yeah, Alek Manoah's ADP has gone up recently, but like he's a guy who's just like massively mispriced based on preseason rankings and how he looked in his start since coming back from the minors. I mean, I think he could be a real nice pick. I mean, I was taking him when he was going 185 earlier this week. I think he's already in the low 170s now, but I mean, it's like basically free. And I mean, like he had a terrible first half of the season, but that's the whole thing about this contest is we're not replaying the first half of the season. This is a completely different thing. And I don't know what the explanation was for how bad he was in the first half, but struck out 8 guys in his first start back. So I'm in on him.
You could have just stopped that entire thing after you said he was massive.
Yeah, he's massive. Everyone on the Blue Jays, Vlad, they're just a huge team.
Their entire team is just big beefy baseball boys.
The rumor today on Giolito, Dodgers are interested in him. Duh. Every team in contention is interested in him. But that was the narrative. He's from out in LA, but how many baseball players are from California?
Right.
Yeah.
What
Julio Urias is going way later than he used to go, before the season. I mean, he struggled in his first start pack, but I think he's a good pick. Max Fried is a good pick. Already throwing his bullpen. He's going 125, I think. He's a really good pick.
Where's Luzardo? Where's Luzardo going?
Luzardo is
he's 75. He's going around. I think he's still worth taking.
Yeah.
Here's a good one for you, James.
I just can't take him over Alcantara. I can't do it.
Sandy Alcantara going at the same place, Jesus Luzardo, and even Clayton Kershaw with the injury he's been sliding. What's your read on Alcantara's, downfall, so to speak?
So, Alcantara's true average is 285 right now. It's really bad. I think average on the year right now is like 249. The thing about Alcantara was that last year he benefited a lot from luck stats. He benefited a lot from BABIP, a lot from home run rate. Like anybody who was a paid subscriber towards the end of last year, like models just hated Alcantara for the last probably 2 months of the season. And he just continued trucking along and he got there, and that's awesome. But that was always going to come back, right? Like he's not really somebody who is a heavy, like called strikeout pitcher. He's not somebody who's really, really good at that kind of stuff. He does rely on getting some contact and getting hitters to do kind of what he wants to do. So models are never really going to like him for me because he relies so much. It's the same thing with Marcus Stroman. Like Marcus Stroman, if Marcus Stroman does not have good defense behind him, he's just going to get fucked up. He's just going to get tanked. So it's kind of the same thing with Sandy Alcantara right now. And with the switches that the Marlins have made to their infield and outfield alignments, I think that it has really hurt him. So models don't really like Alcantara. They love Jesus Luzardo because his HWS ratio is really, really good. He is a really good strikeout pitcher. His true average is not incredible. Luzardo's true average right now is 247, which is fine. Like that's average, but he's like the third best pitcher in the league in terms of hit strike swing, walk ratio. So he's really, really strong. Kershaw, man, I couldn't buy him in this contest. They'll shut him down on the drop of a dime and wait for the playoffs. They have no reason to try to push him, even if they have to call up the trash cans that they have in AAA, whoever the fuck they bring up, Michael Grove or whatever. They're not going to risk his health. They need him healthy for the playoffs. So I wouldn't touch him. But as far as Alcantara goes, like he's just, I guess it's a price thing, but I don't know. You said he's going in the same spot as Jesus Luzardo, and like without question, it's Luzardo for me there.
Okay.
It's hard for me. I think that this is a format thing, and like this is where you guys have more domain expertise than I do. But as much as like the innings chewing counts and like the Bieber excuse, Bieber is a better pitcher right now than Alcantara. And granted, he has had some easier matchups, so that's going to work into it a little bit. But like Alcantara he's experiencing the bad luck that he should have had towards the end of last year, and for sure, he's going to get a little bit luckier moving forward, but he's not somebody with the upside, I don't think, when it comes to him versus Luzardo, that I would rather have him.
Okay. All right. So I do now that we've talked pitching, and who's the guy that your subscribers every week are like, oh man, I'm playing this guy again. When they look at their models, who's that guy? Because let's figure out, because one of the questions that people always have is like, who are the late round pitchers? If you get some good ones early, who are you adding in So who are your subscribers complaining that they have to play when they see your model run every day or every week?
Well, for a little while there, it was Zach Davies. For like 3 weeks, it was probably Zach Davies, where it's just like, can we get this guy off the top of the fucking models? And then he had his great game, right? Where he experienced all the luck that I expected him to have. Yeah, people aren't even
not having ADP.
No. The one that I think is probably more interesting for this format is probably either going to be Andrew Heaney or Cutter Crawford. The models really like Cutter Crawford. I think that Heaney is probably the one that I would say for this. Heaney right now has a 242 true average, which is above average. It is one of the top in the leagues in terms of hitters that have a pretty significant amount of plate appearances. I think he's looks like 20th overall. He's right in between Charlie Morton and Zach Eflin in terms of true average. Granted, he doesn't have the strikeout rate or the HSW ratio, but he's somebody who I think has the upside. Another guy that the models absolutely love is Brian Wu. He has been somebody who has been terrific in the models.
Unfortunately, he is not in the player pool.
Not in the player pool. Okay, yeah. So that's another guy. You could say Lance Lynn looks really good. 232 true average. I don't know where his ADP is at, but I assume he's probably pretty cheap. 137.
He's been on the rise. There's been a lot of tweets and stuff for his second half that I've seen across like Roto people.
What about Braxton Garrett?
That's interesting because I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was very surprised that he actually had more strikeouts than he had innings when I actually looked at it. I did not conceive of that when I had imagined him in my head.
His strikeout ratio right now in the sample is 31%. He has a negative 7.9 hit walk strikeout ratio, which is pretty good. For reference, Glasnow has a negative 7. So he has a little bit better of a ratio there than Glasnow. And his true average is 242. So he's sitting there right next to guys like Andrew Abbott and Charlie Morton. Here's the one. Here's the one that people always call out. Fucking Paul Blackburn. That's the one that people always call out.
You, my guest last week was talking about Paul Blackburn.
Yeah, he's the one. His ratios are not incredible, but his true average is really good. His strikeout rate is above average. Like he's somebody that I think is one of those arms for Oakland. Him and JP Sears that I think both are probably above average, right? Like and free. So that's the other one I think. Paul Blackburn is somebody that ends up at the top of the models, and it's just like, get this guy the fuck out of here. Flaherty does Jack Flaherty's true average is 243, but his HWS ratio is trash. 18. So he's just really hard to stomach. I try to stay away from guys like that. I don't like guys that have a really, really high hit walk strikeout ratio.
Oh, I just got yelled at for not taking Sean Murphy there. Yes, sometimes guests of the show, Nez is happy with your JP Sears take. He's been touting him in the dailies all along here, and that kind of goes along with what you're saying about people's perception of A's pitching. Just no matter who it is, and even Paul Blackburn, just attributing the overall crappiness of a certain period to the entire staff.
Paul Blackburn made the All-Star team a year or two ago.
Dude, Blackburn's he is not terrible.
Yeah, he's not bad. I had him in Roto.
Yeah.
My thing with like JP Sears and more so with Braxton Garrett. Like I've been using those guys quite a bit in DFS. Because Braxton Garrett, I mean, he started the year in the bullpen, and his price was like 6-7K until recently. I mean, he's had some really big strikeout games. He's a really good strikeout pitcher, but he is slowing down, and he does not have, the track record of throwing 200 innings or even like close to that, because he's been, I mean, it wasn't in their plans as a starting pitcher. I mean, they had him coming out of the bullpen. So Yeah, I'm not taking him where he's going pretty early, I think, for what he is. I mean, you can like Lance Lynn, I think, like you mentioned him as well. He's a value for me. He's going like less than 20 picks ahead of Braxton Garrett. So like, why not just bite the bullet there with Lynn? And I haven't drafted Andrew Heaney, but I do think he's a value too. Because he's free. I mean, he's going pick 220 or something. I mean, he just is not like a priority for me. I mean, I'm usually kind of done at the end. I mean, the guys. Let me see what James thinks about the guys I'm taking at the end. I mean, Sheep will not be surprised. I've taken quite a bit of Kyle Gibson in this. I mean, I think Kyle Gibson's the best worst pitcher in the league, and he's on Baltimore. They have the most games in the championship week, so he could get a 2-start week. I mean, I think Grayson Rodriguez is a great pick towards the end. I mean, I think he's going to get called back up soon, and he's really good. And I do think the Orioles will trade for a starting pitcher, or at least it's possible. But I think Cole Irvin and Dean Kramer get the boot from the rotation before Kyle Gibson would. So I like that. And then I think, for the Yankees, Nestor Cortez is coming back. I'm not taking him so much. I think I would draft. I don't think I've drafted him at all, but I think it's okay. But like, he's just like throwing sim games or whatever. He wasn't that good this year. I mean, he made the All-Star team last year, but he hasn't been that good this year. Hasn't been going deep into games. Like, he can't turn a lineup over 3 times this year. So the guy that I like is actually Domingo Germán. I mean, obviously the off-field stuff is horrible with him, but I mean, he's been pitching pretty well recently, even with the perfect game. He had another start recently against the Cubs. He struck out like 8 guys, 6 good innings. So I mean, he's like perfect for best ball, up and down guy. So I'm taking him as my last pitcher in like a 6-pitcher build. Don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I was taking Cortez until he got moved to the 60-day, and he's not going to be back till like August, which was for him too much of a time to be without.
Yeah, I don't think I think when he comes back, I think Germán stays in the rotation, and they move Clark Schmidt to the bullpen, or maybe put Severino on the injured list if he's not pitching better by then.
Yeah, that's one. It's gonna be Severino to the injured list. I'm surprised that he didn't go to the injured list after last start. Like, I'm sure they want to try to get.
Yeah, that game against the Cardinals was rough.
The guy can't top 90 on his fastball. And he's so toast. He's a strikeout pitcher that can't strike people out anymore.
Yeah.
So he's
jumping back to a pick I had that I took. So I was getting light at outfield, so I jumped Ian Happ without really thinking about Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy has a really weird price for me. Again, it's a correlation play, but I have a real hard time taking him this early. What's your thoughts on that catcher situation?
You need to look at the Bad X, my friend, because he's a huge value if you're looking at that, because I think Murphy, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Yandy Diaz. I know you took Yandy Diaz, Matt Chapman, all those guys.
He's been falling.
Yeah.
He hasn't been falling. His ADP was 87 earlier this week, Yandy.
Oh, okay.
It was just go off of vibes. He's super cheap, right? Like, Sean Murphy's the fucking man.
Okay.
So
yeah, Sean Murphy's great. Yeah. So,
all right.
I mean, I know what you're saying. Like, I don't love taking catchers usually because they get hurt a lot. But like, I think I've taken d'Arnaud like once in the last round as part of like a Braves, like filling out a Brave stack. But I'm trying to get Murphy and Will Smith. They kind of go in the same spot there around pick 100. I think both of those guys are great picks.
That might be a bias.
Muncy's 87.
That might be a bias because I have no problem taking Will Smith because he's a Dodger, but that's probably dumb that I'm missing.
But Murphy's on the Braves. He has more games in the finals.
I know. Yep.
Yeah. So
the other catcher that I do like is Wilson Contreras, who is free at the end.
Oh, I love an
infielder.
Yeah, Wilson Contreras. I think in the Bad X, I think he's like top 30 hitter, top 40 hitter, something. He's the most mispriced player in the whole thing right now.
I have a question for both of you guys, right?
Okay.
So, you guys are never going to guess this, but we're going to have fun with it. So, in the sample that I'm using for projections, Shohei Ohtani has the second highest expected home run per plate appearance in the league right now at 13.99%. All right. That's very high. Obviously, that is going to come back down. A good hitter should be somewhere between like 7 and 9%. Who do you guys think has the highest at 14.94% with more than 50 plate appearances?
So Shohei's number 2.
Yeah, Shohei is number 2.
Who's number 1? Okay. And it's someone you wouldn't think.
Yeah, no, you're never going to guess this. It's Josh Donaldson.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. Because he only had all of his hits are home runs. He has like 5 hits.
he has 87 plate appearances.
This was a good guess.
He has 10 hits and 7 home runs. It's so funny.
I saw
it's
a meme
so funny.
on Twitter. Someone did a thing.
Outside of him, though, Luis Robert is way up there at 10.87%. Jake Fraley at 10.26%. I think that's somebody who people are really low on that shouldn't be. Fraley is somebody who, at 10.26% on his expected home run per plate appearance in the recent sample, he also has 16 stolen bases. He's really good and a really good value.
He does have an ADP of 142, so he's not being ignored in this contest.
Not being ignored, but I think that's cheap for somebody like Fraley in an offense that I think is terrific. And hitting well in the order. He has stolen base upside. We talked about stolen bases at the beginning of the show. Like he's good, man. I think that he's solid. And then of course the pay dirt champion from the last month, Jack Swinski, 10.09% expected home run per plate appearance. Guy is a fucking baller. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's let's see where he's going. Yeah, 136. So about that same place.
I would take Fraley over Swinski, but I mean, I like them both. Like they're both awesome.
All right, so I've been ignoring the correlations. Let's do it. Let's get Marcell Ozuna to add to our Olsen Albies stack. In the meantime, I've built up a Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, Cody Bellinger. I've talked about it before on previous shows, but if you're looking for a stack in the middle of the drafts, you feel like you don't have much correlation. The Cubs are usually there. You can grab Nico Horner if you want to throw in there, and here's another player I want to throw at you. Seiya Suzuki, James.
Oh man, he hasn't been great.
FedEx loves Seiya Suzuki, so I have a lot of him.
Oof,
I think he's a huge value.
My models hate this dude. It's mostly he has been bad in the recent sample. I understand why the Bad X would like him, and like I get that, but yeah, he's been really, really bad. I couldn't justify buying him. If it was part of that stack, I can see it. The other thing, Sheep, I should ask you this.
Quick answer to this person. Matt McLean is not in the pool. Basically, the pool was when this contest opened, it was everybody that was on the 40-man roster when it opened. So that's a product of, I've been told, of Underdog's stat provider. So we got to work around it. But what were you going to say, James?
So two things. One, Seiya Suzuki is basically Anthony Rizzo in my models, which not great. And then you drafted Cody Bellinger with this. Do you think he's not going to get traded?
I did not think that, but somebody did say that he's going to be.
Yeah, he's definitely getting traded.
Yeah, he's one of the prime trade candidates for Chicago.
Yeah, because he's on a 1-year deal, right? So.
Yeah. So they want to move him, and I think the Cubs are going to sell quite a bit at the deadline. Like they have smart management. I don't think that their management believes for 1 minute that this is going to be like a year that they have some magic. They have a good farm system. I think that they have some competent pieces that they have extended. I'm more than positive that they're going to sell quite a bit at the deadline. Bellinger and Wisdom, and I would love to see them trade Marcus Stroman because I don't think he's good, but he does bring a lot in terms of like vibes and attitude, and I think that that's underrated on a team buildup. So, but they're for sure going to sell.
All right, so I had a decision there. I wanted to add a pitcher. I added Jose Barrios. It was basically Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, Reed Detmers, Braxton Garrett. I think what Jose Barrios has been sort of bounced back is kind of underrated. It's kind of gone under the radar of him just being solid this year.
Remember before the season, whenever everyone loved Reed Detmers, and now you can get him at pick 150.
Well, he was last round for a while in this contest when he was bad, and then he was good. And
yeah, but what was his 80? What did his ADP finish at in the Dinger?
Oh, I don't know.
Top 100.
I don't.
The best hit walk strikeout ratio in the league for my sample is Blake Snell at negative 21.88, basically negative 22. The second best is Reed Detmers, negative 11.5.
Yeah, I have a lot of Reed Detmers in this contest. I think he's a really good pick.
So how do you weight vibes is the question, James.
That's a fun question.
This person doesn't know you well enough, I can tell. This is newbie. He'll be on after.
Yeah. So vibes, like I think you have to care about vibes a little bit, man. This is not like, and even in NBA, I think like where projections rule, I think the vibes kind of matter. And I'm being 100% fucking dead serious right now. Like I know that it can sound like I'm being an asshole, and I get that, but like 100% dead serious here. As a technical modeler and as like an expert modeler, I have to be reticent of things like mental attitude for players and the vibes that players bring, because it does have an effect on things. Like you can see the change in the way that players act and swing. And like, look at the fucking White Sox, man. Like the vibes are in the trash can with the White Sox. None of those guys want to fucking be there. It doesn't matter how good they are. Like Tim Anderson, his vibes are fucking trash. He just does not fucking care. And then you look at teams like the Reds where everybody's having fun and like the vibes are immaculate, bro. Like they're just really, really good. And Shit My Money always makes fun of me because I talk about vibes in NBA. And I was like, look at the fucking Celtics, man. Like their vibes suck. They don't have an alpha. They're going to get fucking, I literally said they're going to get beat by a team like the Heat who have Jimmy Butler, whose vibes, and he's just a fucking alpha. Like he's going to take over. Jason Tatum's not going to be able to like be the best player on the team. And that kind of shit matters. So BVP and heat and hot streaks and cold streaks and vibes and shit like that, it's not possible to model it. Like it's not something that you can quantify, but I certainly think that it's something that you have to, have in the back of your head. And like intuitively that kind of anybody who has ever played a sport, I played football for 10 years. Like anybody who's ever played a sport knows that mindset and the mental aspect of the game absolutely matter to the players who are doing shit. And it's important just to keep it in the back of your mind. Like intuitively, it matters.
All right. So
yeah,
apparently
the Heat won 3 playoff series on vibes.
Dude, yeah, no, fucking Jimmy Butler is the fucking dude. Like, he's the dude, and that matters. That kind of stuff matters.
Like by the time
Celtics just got to blow it up.
By the time they're playing the Celtics, they had no business beating Milwaukee. That was one of the biggest upsets in history. In the first round. And then, the Celtics they were a 3-point shooting team with no 3-point shooters. I mean, I did not understand that plan.
It's because Tatum's a fucking beta bitch. Like he can't take over games, man. He's had like 2 games in his career where it's like, man, can he actually do this? And then he comes out the next game and puts up like 3 points and 9 assists and looks like a fucking lump on a log. Like he doesn't fucking do anything, man.
Yeah. One of the other things too is like, it's kind of vibe related, is like sometimes you get advice from like a weird place, but it's like it's true. Is Booger McFarland one time said on ESPN, like games in the NFL are lost more than they are won. And when you think about, like, I think it applies to all sports. Like when you look at that series, like the Sixers and the Celtics, like the Sixers just blew it. Like they were totally in position. What were they up 3-2 or 3-1 in that series? And then they lost. Tatum had a great game 7, but they just all played like crap in that game 7. And it's like the Celtics didn't totally earn it. They just were playing the Sixers, and the Sixers just screwed it up for themselves.
Matters, man. That shit matters.
Yeah.
All right, so I need some more outfielders. I haven't really taken Eddie Rosario. I don't know. I feel like he still bats 6th in that lineup often. Any takes on Rosario?
I mean, just Josh Bell, I think projects way better. At this spot, I think if you can get Josh Bell, like Jimenez went right after, but if you can get Josh Bell and Jimenez, that's a good little mini stack that I'd like to do. I think both those guys are values just based off the projections. But I mean, you're stacking Atlanta pretty big here, so
yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I've taken Rosario like once. I mean, I think he's a good player. But I take him in an Atlanta stack, but I wouldn't just take him, just to take him, basically.
You're making
Especially
lots of friends tonight, James.
I'm a friendly guy.
They're used to my you can't quantify it, so I don't care attitude. But yeah, that's one thing that we've discussed in the past. But you know a lot more than I do in terms of what actually goes into models and what's important.
Yeah, I've been in this industry for so long, man, and it's like there's people like Cardi. I think that Cardi and I are birds of a feather, and that we trust our models to like a pretty extreme degree. And I think that the main difference between him and I is that when his model is saying something crazy, he's like, "Oh, well, you gotta trust this, like it's math, blah blah blah." And when my model says something like you should play Zach Davies, I'm just like, it's kind of fucking crazy, man. But like maybe it sees something that we don't, and like I'll acknowledge that kind of stuff. I mean, numbers can tell you a lot. There's certain things about this game, and not only the game being played, right? Like not only baseball, not only basketball, not only the athletic part of it, but like there's certain things about the way that you play as a professional DFS player that like sometimes you just go with your gut, and sometimes you just go with the thing that makes sense. It's not always that the models are right. Sometimes you see something happen, and after you've played DFS for 10 fucking years, like your gut just is kind of like, hey man, you remember that time like 6 years ago when you had something exactly like this and you chose wrong? We should choose right this time. So that kind of stuff, it's hard because you can't quantify it. But I think anybody who you talk to that like has been doing this for a long time is gonna admit that it's not all about the numbers, even if you're like me and you just work with numbers, right? So
yeah. Plus, a lot of people are.
Sorry, go.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
Plus, a lot of people are like using Derek Carty's numbers at this point. Like a lot of people. So there's a lot of groupthink too there, where you can just get pretty contrarian pretty easily if you make a little move like that. I am pretty tied to Carty's numbers for this tournament, like the bad X, because I think like you were talking about, James, like sometimes the bad X will say, like I remember a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year, like the bad X was still projecting like Mike Minor as like a decent starting pitcher when he was like absolutely toast. But I do think there is some value looking at this tournament specifically because and looking at Carty's numbers in comparison to the ADP, because there's been so much overreaction to the first half of the season. Like I want to kind of grab on to those priors a little bit more in this contest than like in the preseason. I wasn't like, people were on like guys like Matt Chapman, who had a good like first month of the year, but like Matt Chapman was like a huge value according to the Bat X. I didn't have like hardly any of him. I just don't think he's like a superstar or anything. I forget where he was probably going 50 or 60 ADP. He's going later now. The Bad X still likes him, so I'm taking him as part of a Toronto stack now. I'm still not super on board, but like, yeah, I think, you know, Cardi gets in those Twitter wars too, where people will troll him about like BVP or something, and he'll just say, you know, like the lady on the airplane, like that shit is not real.
Well, you know, he's not here right now, so maybe he got taken too, like that lady, to defend himself.
And I will say that I always like. I mean, I've made a lot of money off of people being confident in the Bad X this year. Like I have, because there's been a lot of groupthink of people, and it's not even that I think that the Bad X is a bad projection system. I don't. I think that Cardi has put together a really, really strong model. But people have become overconfident in projections, and while Chalk has been hitting at a decent rate this year, Chalk has also been more condensed than I think that it has ever been. And so when it doesn't hit, you make a lot more money. So I think that people maybe trust that model a little bit too much, but for something like this, for longer term play, not for DFS, I can't think of a better model to use. Like and even in prop betting, right? Like even in strikeout betting and stuff like that, like I think that his model is terrific and it has a proven track record. I think that when it comes to things like that, where either it is a long-term sample like this, like a contest like this, or where the payout is not progressive, I think that the BAT is a very, very good projection system. It's just when you get into those progressive payouts where ownership starts to matter and game theory starts to matter, that's where people's overconfidence in something like the Bad X can make you a lot of money in just not even not agreeing with it, but just understanding where the blind spots are. Like on guys like Matt Chapman, on guys like Mike Minor, on guys like earlier in the season, it was Blake Snell. Like Blake Snell is like 75% owned or something when he's walking 7 guys a game. And now Blake Snell is turning around, and that's awesome. And now my models are on Blake Snell too. But at the time, you know, I took down a tournament because people were overconfident in Blake Snell. So
yeah,
it's important to understand the application of the models and how best to use different models in the industry.
Yeah, in this
100%. Like there's
in
been a
this
lot of groupthink, and like the ownership condenses, and like when you study like winning lineups and you look back at the projections, a lot of the time it's just everyone chalked up, you know, a guy who was projected at second base for 10 points, and then the guy who won, you know, just played the guy right below him who was like the same price and like totally unowned and projected for like 9 points. And like on any given day, like anything can happen. But like James was saying, like you want to look at Cardi's model for like a longer sample size like this, like best ball.
Yeah. But for this year, as opposed to previous years where I did just take the Bad X and basically transfer it into the point totals in this format. In previous years, I didn't do that this year, just simply because, like you said, more people are using it. And I think I had a brief time on Underdog where I was one of very few people. Our last guest in the third draft was someone that brought me over because he was winning with that model. But I've found it, I don't know, we'll see how my results are this year, but I found it better to not just do that, go straight off of the model because so many people were doing it. Mm-hmm. But we did have a question here about Joey Votto.
I never like doing that because I like to play the ADP game. I can't put the Bad X in the, you know, the point totals in the draft room. I hate doing that.
Yep.
Joey Votto is third in expected home run per plate appearance over the recent sample, right behind Shohei Ohtani. He's at 11.11%. Granted, he has a higher strikeout rate, 32% or so, which isn't great. His expected batting average is relatively low, but his X-Slug numbers are solid. His X-Woven numbers are solid. Like his BABIP is not through the roof. That's another problem with Ellie as well. Is his BABIP is sitting like 444 or something. That's going to come down. So I think Votto is a good. You can talk me into any Reds player, man. You can fucking talk me into Tyler Stephenson if you tried hard enough. Like that offense is just going to be really good throughout the rest of the year. And I think that especially if you can get some cheaper guys like Joey Votto, and even Jake Fraley, who I think while he is relatively expensive in like the 150 range, like he's even, I think, a little bit undervalued when you look at what we should expect the Reds to be able to accomplish. So I really, really like Joey Votto. I don't think there's any reason to think that what he is doing is a mirage. Like maybe the power comes down a little bit after he settles back in, but he's always been somebody who has been known to choke up if he needs to anyway, and be an on-base percentage guy. He's not a flashy, like needs to be the main provider for the team anyway. I think he's a very safe, strong pick later on in drafts.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take Brandon Lowe here, who I think actually is pretty similar in idea that injury has caused a lot of the issues, and it just fits with my Tampa stack. So I think he's undervalued potentially for the upside. Okay, here.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Bryce Harper and his how bad he is now? This is, I think, mostly tongue in cheek. Chipsy is a big Philly guy, so
I think he's been fine. He just doesn't have the power. He came back too early. He just doesn't have the power. And that's literally that's all I got. Yeah.
You think it'll come back this year or what?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Like you want to say yes, but when you come back and you're in the grind of the season, like it doesn't give your body the time to recover that it needs. It's the problem with coming back so early from one of these things. Like, yeah, he's in the lineup and he still takes walks well, and his extra base hits are not terrible, but like he's not stealing bases and he's not able to really clear the fences right now. Like he's not what you paid for. They pulled him back too early.
He's going later in this contest.
He is falling slowly.
Jose Siri loaded up in your likes. Love that pick.
Okay,
that's awesome.
I guess because somebody took Keeney there on us. Let's throw Paul Blackburn on here just for the stream equity here.
There we go. Yeah.
For the bit.
He worked. For the bit, I don't know what I want to talk about there. But Tampa overall has that group of Siri, Lowe, Harold Ramirez. I should say Josh Lowe. So
Raley,
Fraley, or Luke Raley. Yeah,
Luke Raley.
So it's hard to understand for me how all of them can be good, but so far they all have been contributors and put up decent weeks.
Taylor Walls too, man. Taylor Walls has stolen base upside. He has a little power, not a lot, but a little power.
Yeah, okay, he's a guy I like more for DFS. Taylor Walls. I don't think he plays enough with Lowe or with Brandon Lau healthy.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, so I don't like him in this, but I'll take Luke Raley if I have Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz already. Haven't been taking Surrey. I mean, Surrey still hits at the bottom of the lineup.
Fair enough. The hardest one I've had is Josh Lowe at 117, but that might be a bias. Early. I don't know. It seems like he's pretty similar to Jose Siri potentially, on a week-to-week basis.
If I'm taking an outfielder there, I'd rather have Seiya Suzuki, Giancarlo Stanton, or Dalton Varsho. I'd take any of those guys easily over Josh Lowe. Yeah,
Varsho's been one because of how cheap Vlad has been. I've been taking a lot of second pick Vlad and then adding Springer or Chapman, and then Varsho's kind of always there to add later. So yeah.
If I get Vlad, like sometimes you'll get like if you're at the 12th pick and you take Vlad there, and then sometimes Bichette will still be there, around like pick 36, even though his ADP is like 30. And then you just jump up Springer and get all three of those guys. I don't mind. And then you can take Varsho, you can take Belt. Belt is free, not like Whit Merrifield. Belt is literally free. So I don't love taking Belt because he's, not going to play against lefties. So if you get a couple lefties in the championship week, he's basically useless. But so I haven't been taking him a ton, but I mean, he decent last round pick if you have a Blue Jay stack.
Does anybody have anything nice to say about Tyler O'Neill?
That guy's arms are fucking big, dude.
Yeah.
How's that factor in the model?
Well, it's baked in the model because he's a beefy baseball boy, Same thing as fucking like Daniel Vogelbach, You look at that guy and you're like, that guy fucking hits dingers. Same thing with Tyler O'Neill. That dude's fucking yoked.
What team do you think he's going to get traded to?
I hope the Yankees, man. He's the most Yankees player I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. He doesn't even have to shave. He's already clean shaven, man.
And they have that pretty decent
picture of him in a Yankee jersey with like none of the buttons done on his uniform.
Yeah, no, dude, that guy's a
fingers like Luke Voigt. Yeah,
the guy's a legit dreamboat, man. He belongs with the Yankees.
Yeah, that's been talked about a little bit. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I mean, even there's a guy on ESPN today was talking about the Yankees trading for Ohtani. That's not going to happen, but it's very funny to like get everyone excited about Ohtani, and I think Derek Jeter mentioned during the All-Star break recently that they should be interested in Juan Soto. Neither of those things are happening, and then they'll get a guy like Tyler O'Neill, and he'll just do what Tyler O'Neill does, which is just get hurt again. So, yeah, I don't have anything to say about Tyler O'Neill except for I want my money back from all the dingers that I took him in because my guy Vlad Sedler loves Tyler O'Neill. I'm sure he's still drafting him in this contest. I can't do it. There's plenty of outfielders to take. I'd rather take Jock Peterson every day of the week than you got him on this team too.
I did take him. He's been going earlier than ADP, but I've been trying to fit him in more. I feel like I'm lacking on him because I was falling for the cold streak.
Yeah, he's been bad, but like the Bad X has him top like 50, top 70 hitter or something in this contest. So outfielders stink in this contest too. Like I have no problem taking Jock Peterson at pick 160, even though it's way ahead of his ADP. I've done it plenty of times already.
Yeah, and the thing that made me think about it was I was just glancing at all the like differences in X stats of different players, and he was towards the top on guys that was due for a little bit of regression according to those. So that's just how I ended up on him. But yeah, we're coming up here. I think I am going to add one more pitcher. I end up going 7 pitchers a lot more, I think, than most people in this contest. And at least that I talked to you.
Dude, you got to grab Bradish here. Bradish is a great pick here.
Bradish?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Bradish. He's at the top of the pitcher.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do it. I did not get my guy Grayson. I've been jamming Grayson a lot. You mentioned him earlier. His ADPs.
I'll take Grayson before Bradish, but I like to take Grayson Grayson and Kyle Gibson, or Bradish and Kyle Gibson, and just hope one of those guys gets a 2-start week in the championship, especially if I'm taking 7 pitchers. So it's like you don't really need them.
Yeah.
I don't think that Bradish is incredible, but I do have him as a plus in hit walk strikeout ratio. He is on the right side of that. And then his true average is 255, which is not terrible. He basically looks like Cody Senga in my models. Which is pretty good.
Cody Senga?
Cody Senga. Whatever.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't have count shit.
No, I was like,
no, you
Cody
said it right.
Seiya, like Seiya Suzuki and Cody Bellinger jammed together. That's what my brain did when you said that.
That's fair.
So I was just confused. Sorry. And
I have a question because my models like this dude, but I don't know really how to feel about him overall. Bailey Ober. My models like
overrated.
Him. You think he's overrated?
Or did you just want to make that pun
a little bit?
Okay,
I both. I do think he's overrated a little bit. I think he gives up a lot of fly balls. I don't know, that was early in the season. Maybe he's fixed that a little bit. I like that he's striking out guys. I don't know how many innings he's going to finish with. That's a question for me. And then I think I'd have to look into it again, but I think he gives up a little too many fly balls for me. And he's going a little early compared to. I mean, I think he's kind of in the box with Bradish and these other guys.
I have him as basically the same person as Andrew Abbott and Yusei Kikuchi. Like I have all three of those guys kind of just there. And I know that the models are going to like Bailey Ober in the second half. So I'm kind of trying to figure out like how I want to deal with it,
All right. Yeah. Cause I have been taking Kikuchi in this contest in general. So interesting names there to put together.
Apparently, I hit every single person that is talked about in the Discord, so I'll consider myself a god for the day, just like most other days. And yeah, it's been a good one. But
yeah, I should have had you on earlier in this series. Apparently, everybody loves you. But yeah, James, thank you so much for joining me. We haven't talked too much this season, but I'm glad to get you here and talk. I don't know, Nick, if you're going to hang out for another draft or not.
No, that's all right. You got more guys coming, right?
Excellent. Yeah. We'll bring him in here. He's in the middle of a drink. We'll bring in muted Nui.
What's going on? He's muted.
He is the resident Twins fan, so maybe he's got a Bailey overtake before you head out, James.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I like saying that. I like the take. I don't know if I trust it. just watching Ober, relentlessly pitch after pitch. But I mean, if he wants to do that and he wants to be those pitchers, it would sure help us. It would sure help the Twins. But yeah, I haven't taken much Ober. So
all right. Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you, James. I'm going to pop you out and have a good night. Hello, friend.
How's it going? It's been a while.
It has been a while. How are you?
I'm doing well.
How is your drafting going? How far have you gotten into this contest?
We are. I believe I'm finishing my 128th. So we are close, 22 away, and I don't know when I'm going to get those in this remaining 14 hours. So, yeah, I mean, right now, Nez put the perfect GIF up, which was that Squidward meme of him just in a different scene over and over again. Like it's just same team I'm drafting over and over again. I mean, I told you I'm literally finishing up a pick here as I'm just gonna take Tanner Beebe or Bybee, whatever you want to call him. I'm just like James. I'm terrible with names, but yeah, I got big shoes to fill. You guys know what's coming in here. Yeah, everyone, the viewership's about to just go down. They're like, oh, hey, God, Numi's here. So
James mentioned Tyler Stevens. So how pumped were you that whole time?
He hit every single person that I was. I mean, it was incredible. I was euphoric. It was every single person, and then he's hitting on Nez's guys too. It's like we need to just get him a little invite into that thread specifically, and he can just continue to talk happy things about our guys, and that'll be great.
There you go.
But yeah, this is gonna be tough just to max it out. How far are you?
I am at 86. Hoping to get to 100 by time of close tomorrow. This contest does close at 3 tomorrow.
Yep.
But yeah, that was sort of my goal the whole time was 100. But I'm not going to push myself. I probably have some real commitments to do in real life tomorrow. So we'll see what happens.
As do I. So I don't know how late I want to stay up and then fall asleep for 15 drafts on the clock. Because I know as soon as I queue them up after this and get in drafts, and it's going to be 9:30, 10, I'm going to be like, yeah, 11's going to roll around. We're going to be like at round 10 for half the drafts. I'm just going to be like, oh my God, push the plane.
Yeah, yep. I can go to bed.
Yeah.
While we wait think felt differently about this contest than the preseason stuff in terms of burnout. I know you did. I mean, we had the bullpen and the dinger that we did a lot of drafting, but also just any lesson that you feel like you took from those contests that you're bringing forward now.
For this contest specifically, I'm bringing my stance on injured guys, and obviously it's been the Jordan, the Judge, and it was Trout, but I backed way off. I'd be more willing to have way exposed to that. I'm still in, but guys that have murky timelines, I'm like kind of fully out on. I'm only in on Judge because of the potential ceiling that he offers, and he comes back early. Otherwise, guys that are sitting with murky timelines and injuries, I'm not the new me of old. I'm fully like, any missed time in this short window feels like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So I've been really, really conscious of how much of that I'm adding per team. So like if I start out with Judge or do a Jordan Judge, those are going to be probably the only two guys that at that moment in time are quote unquote injured. Obviously more can get injured, but I really want to try my is just to have as many live teams and get advancing, especially with this potential overlay. But my thesis on betting on the upside and the injury and then hoping they come back, I have just been kind of out on that. And we'll let you know. I just got an alert of a thunderstorm tornado watch, of course, okay. as soon as I hop on here. So if all of a sudden my power goes out, doubt it will, but that's the main lesson that I've drawn from here. And I know you just the way you draft, you're kind of, I mean, not that you don't go on risk. It's just if a guy's injured or anything like this, you're more you're less apt to take them, just the way your drafting preference normally goes. And I've kind of just taken that lead. I don't want to sit there with just like, oh, this team could have advanced, but you took four guys in critical spots that just aren't playing. So that's the big lesson that I am bringing over for this contest.
That is interesting because I have gone, and this is probably a homer bias, is how much Brandon Woodruff I've been taking at a pretty high cost for the potential. So it is kind of funny that maybe we're going in the opposite directions a little bit. I'm taking on a little more risk with him, Grayson Rodriguez, and O'Neal Cruz is the other one.
So I should caveat it by saying early round. I'm definitely taking risk in some of the late round guys. I mean, Tyler O'Neill is my third highest exposed player in this contest. So I'm taking risk in certain spots, and a lot of O'Neal Cruz. I'm with you there. I'm more on the Freddie Peralta train. Maybe that's silly. As a resident Brewer fan, you can maybe tell me that having him as my highest exposed player is probably silly. But I've taken Woodruff what it is, but and I'm on a lot of Grayson. So it's it's really picking the spots. It's not putting that much capital. The sheet. I didn't even know you had a shirt.
You haven't been paying attention. This has been here for a couple of weeks.
That is absolutely. Are those for sale? What do we go to sheep.com, like darksheep.com, and order those up, or what?
They are not. I did just wash this one for the first time, which maybe I shouldn't say because I've worn it on multiple weeks, but just for the shows. I wanted to see how it held up, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's not high on my priority list for improvements to the show. Hey man,
merchandise. If there's a sheep seat or a sheep seats, dude, I told you I was with John. I'm like saying that 10 times fast is almost like a no because of the words that are going to come out of your mouth. But I would definitely cop one of those and be wearing that. That's clean. That's clean. The logo that you have there too is
that's my AI generated logo. I threw it on the base font of the website that made the shirt. I made the shirt on, so it was really high developmental costs. So
that's what we do here. It's right. Yeah. Chip's right. Like put that thing. We need to get that thing in like the Deposit Kingdom or something. Just simply a sheep section. Like, oh my gosh, that would sell out. That would sell out fast. But
I think it'd look good on a mug too, but I'm biased.
I inputted white mug. Hell yeah.
I put the inputs into the what was that called? I don't even remember. Dolly or whatever. I don't even remember what I used. I can't remember which one of the image generators.
Too many
Anyway.
drafts, Vincent. Too many drafts.
Before we get off the rails, we have Chris here to save us in his Harvard shirt, fresh off of a recent trip to jam in some drafts into this contest. I am gonna let you guys talk for a minute. The thing that we wanted to talk about was pitching structure. I have to run to take care of something, so I'm gonna remove myself and let you guys talk a little bit about pitching structure. When I get back, we'll jump into the draft.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Don't ruin my show.
Yeah, I will try my best. It's leaving
Perfect
me and Chris
timing.
with the reins. Yeah, leaving me and Chris with the reins is interesting, but
So the Pup Cup.
yes. All right, guys. So yeah, we got the Scottish Open going on right now. No. Oh man, yeah. How's it going, Chris? How's it going, brother?
I'm good. Summer's been nice. I've been to some Jays games, been playing a bunch of golf. It's been good. Fired off some drafts last week. I need to find my way back down there so I can go into the slow puppy, because like that's just like
Just
right
150 over and over.
right at my heart, me and my fellow sickos. But yeah, no, doing the baseball blitz, it was like I think I did 25 in like 2.5 days pretty much, which was don't recommend. I was pretty just firing. So looking at some of my exposures now is hilarious. But it was fun, and I'm glad I have something out there, and it's been fun keeping up with where things have gone since I drafted. Oh.
Hello?
No good audio?
Keep talking. I randomly lost you. I don't know if anyone can hear, but I can't hear.
All right. Well, in the chat, let us know if you can hear me, because I can hear Numi for sure.
I can hear you now. For some reason, my headphones just decided to crap out. So we'll get this fixed.
Okay.
You keep going.
Phew.
Talk about pitching.
Pitching. So I think my overall idea is that this is similar to kind of the way that we thought about the dinger, and that's kind of how I went about it for the most part. I drafted, I think all my teams were 6 pitchers, with maybe a 5 sprinkled in. I think 6 is probably like the most optimal, but if I had to lean one way, I would go 5 over 7. I think what it comes down to for me is just that the perfect, most optimal run out for the finals is you get 3 2-start weeks out of 3 guys in the first week of the finals, and then the other 3 get 2-start weeks in the second. You can't unlock that kind of 12-start scenario with less than 6. So that's my only real hesitation with going less than 6. If you go more than 6, you increase the chances of that happening just because you have more pitchers to kind of fit into those spots. But I think the opportunity cost of losing a hitter, which can be like a differentiating piece out of your set of guys, can actually be less beneficial than adding that extra opportunity. So that's kind of where my head has been through these, and I think that the shorter time frame really obviously makes this contest super interesting. And I think where I've landed is that I care more about the quantity of guys than necessarily where you're taking them than I did relative to the dinger. The dinger, I was very kind of highly concentrated at the top and in the middle. Here, I think it's a little more viable if you want to take a couple of shots late, just because, it's a shorter time frame, more things can happen. But I think getting to that 6 pitcher mark is like was my goal, and that was kind of where I sat, and that's where my head was at. So that's pretty much me for pitching, which is similar-ish to where I was before the season started.
Yeah, I agree. I can hear you now. For some reason, my earbuds just decided to literally just in your middle of your talking. Everything like the sound just went, and I went, and I couldn't hear you. So yeah, that was fun. I don't know if it connected to something else, but yeah, I'm 100% agreement with you. The only 7 pitcher builds are when I went night. and didn't have a positional limit set, and 7 pitchers went on there, or when the famous switch from Wi-Fi to LTE or LTE to Wi-Fi, and then all of a sudden, that happens so frequently to me that I just did it again, and I have 7 pitchers, and I didn't want it. So it's been a rip over here for me with the 7. But I 100% agree with you in that, and I've been more apt because your research and what you've said, people are almost taking that as gospel, along with what we've just been kind of preaching and saying. And so many people have just, I'll go through and I'll look through the drafts and I'll see 7 to 8 of the 12, or the 11, not including me, already have 6 pitchers by like 120, 130. And I'm just like, and then they'll just stop. And then you'll just see an influx of pitchers just be sitting at the top of the queue. And my later drafts now, I've been kind of like grabbing those guys at values and saving my pitcher spots. But I'm normally capping it at 6. I agree with you there. I think the hitting upside of getting those spike weeks is way more important than adding a 7th, and especially an 8th pitcher. Rip my 9 pitcher builds that I loved last year.
I can't wait until Tuma sends me the Excel in a couple of months, and then we crack it open, and it's like 9 pitcher. That was the key. That was the key this year. Was you just got to go quantity over quality, and I'd
be done.
It's gonna be so funny.
I'd be done, man. If it wasn't,
Shame.
I'd be done. But yeah,
we're on the next year if that happens.
100%.
Yeah. So, and I have been going a lot of 7 builds in this contest, just like I did in the original season. I think partially it's from injury fear, but what you were saying, Chris, is maybe the loss of your 6th pitcher is a lot less effective on your overall scoring than a loss of a, say, 7th hitter.
Yeah, I think that the hitters they're just so good for this format, and they just set up so well for like having the spike weeks, for lack of a better term, that like all of the highest scoring players, and I think every playoff week last year, were essentially the best hitters, and then followed up by the 2-star pitchers, and then it was the elite 1-star guys. So it just kind of was that hierarchy where having the Bo Bichette and the Aaron Judge of last year, Bo Bichette and Aaron Judge were so overwhelmingly popular in the later rounds because they were the spike hitter guys in those rounds, and it just carried so many teams. Where the 2-star pitchers were kind of roughly distributed, and then you'd kind of see like a tiered drop off. Like hitters can score points every single game, and they can accumulate points kind of more linearly. And then the pitchers, it comes out in a stepped thing where it's like if you have 2, then that's really good, and then once you go down to 1-star, that's kind of like everyone else. So it's more of a gap.
Yeah, this is a soft room.
What's the rest of the board? What's the one?
We got it's a little. Just kidding. It's a lot of people we know, which is fine. What's that?
There's quite a bit of people we know. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Eagles has joined the baseball. Apparently.
Yeah, he's been in all of my drafts since like noon. Since we started streaming. He's been in all of them. So.
I don't know. Anybody got anything against Juan Soto here? I don't.
Only if you want to get fun with Strider, but I would go Soto too.
I would go Soto, yeah. I only take Strider when he's at the top of my queue. Yeah, taking Strider over Soto and Freeman is tough for me. I haven't done it yet.
I do think that's really interesting what you said though, Chris, that it might not even matter when you take pitchers. It's just having 6, because I was looking through recently like the full season, and my best teams are like Luis Castillo, Nathan Eovaldi type combos, guys that Castillo wasn't exactly cheap, but you didn't have to take him in the first few rounds, and that's sort of what leads me to waiting on pitcher. I don't know if it's going to change between, the guys that rose up the ranks from beginning of the season to now, like some of them are going to stay up there, but not all of them will, and we'll have a few people rise that we don't expect. So I think that's a really sharp way to put it. Is it might not even matter exactly when you take all of them, but just having a core and putting it together at 6.
Yeah, I think one way to think about it is if you kind of if you're caring less about who you take, then you're getting less kind of tied to specific player takes, or less specifically if you care about less when you take them, then you're basically saying that the like player evaluation stuff can like wildly change, and that every year there's always like outlier guys that just pop out of nowhere, and you're kind of putting it up to exactly drafted pitchers. Like, you're right, that's Chip, exactly.
And it also puts you into, if you're trying to distribute evenly throughout the entire draft, it puts you into very similar combinations often, because you're making the same similar decisions between guys at certain ADPs. You're usually taking, unless you're randomizing it a little more, but your instinct is to take the same guy, the guy that you like, and then you're just putting these guys together in the same combinations too, which doesn't get you much different between your lineups.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Sorry, I realized I finally finished this freaking last 7th inning stretch pick, and we're done. We're done with that. That's off here. Oh my goodness. That was the slowest lobby ever. I think that took over an hour and a half.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was straight. There was, I think, 3 people actually picking, and then it was just run down the clock with no plane push. It was
because
tough.
everyone's watching the stream. They're trying to get the inside info before it happens, you know?
Well, they didn't click anyone. They were just going straight off ADP. So they weren't caring about the info at all.
So the other topic, though, one that you did some full season research from last year, Chris, was on stacking. What have you changed any of your thoughts without? I mean, obviously that was based off data. Have you changed? Not necessarily. I know you probably changed because of this format, but have you thought any more about those initial findings as this season has gone on and you've sort of taken a look at who's scoring where?
It's really interesting halfway through the year, because I think 2 ways to look at it. So for this format, I think similar to what we were talking about preseason, just load up with as many kind of like 2, 3, 4-man stacks, and just give yourself as many outs to like the team having the nuclear week in the playoffs, like the Reds did a month or 2 ago, whenever that was. You basically want that, but just in the right week. So you need to have as many kind of combos of things that can go right. And now that we're halfway through the year and you can plan out a little bit more, kind of like who's playing who in the playoff weeks. Like, Numi has done a fucking excellent job at breaking down the schedules in the playoff weeks, and what you guys talked about on the show the other day with, all the teams playing 14 in the finals, but then also looking at who's playing against each other and knowing that if you stack this team, you shouldn't be taking these pitchers, but these guys, that kind of like levels of layering onto the stacking is what I really like. And I think that's kind of the right way to try and tackle that edge in this format. For the season long stuff so far, I think stacking has been like relatively successful in the smaller doses that we kind of see. Like, just looking at the top, 25 guys right now, there's a lot of pairings, like Mookie and Freddie paired, stacked, Acuna and Olsen stacked, Adelise, Semien stacked. Like, there's just kind of guys that are tied together, and rising tide lifts all ships. Randy and Wander, like those kind of small pairings can make a difference. Is it the be all end all like it is in football? Probably not. But it'll be cool to look at this year and kind of see how that works. The one other thing that I want to do, and I've already talked to him about doing it, is kind of like how Leone for football did the what if every week was the finals, or what if every week was a playoff round? Like how does that fit into it? That I think is like that's the A+ next level. And we like batted that around this year, and it was just like, yeah, no time to come up with something like that. But that is like, I think, the gold standard, like next level of thinking. It's what does a weekly scoring dynamic look like? Because right now baseball is a season-long sport in every other form of fantasy essentially, and we don't have, I think, the proper lens to look at what does weekly production look like, and what do those interactions look like, what a pitching look like, what do the stacks look like. I think all of that stuff, but from a weekly lens, is going to be like a big focus of mine this year, and I think that's going to be kind of the next level of what can we pull from all the information that we do have at our hands. So that's my like future thing for what I want to look at with the weekly stuff, and I think that hopefully we can apply at least some of that to the rest of this contest and then into the playoffs too.
I think our friend Ben has turned into a snake.
Yes. S to you too, buddy.
No, that's exactly what I want to hear, because that, like, I'll be honest, I haven't read through the whole Best Ball Manifesto, but I got through that first part of his methodology, and I was like, this is perfect for baseball too, because especially this format, because we're like, oh yeah, what about this guy in the playoffs? What about this guy through this whole big stretch of time? But the scoring is just a bunch of weeks stacked on each other. So how do we maximize our group of players to score a lot on multiple weeks? Yeah.
I like. I will say, yeah.
Lots of letters going on.
Yeah, we're just gonna start getting the entire alphabet in the chat. Oh my goodness. I was a little afraid at first when you queued up all these Padres, and then all of a sudden and we're just talking, and then all of a sudden you started moving stuff around. I'm like, oh, okay.
This is my first stream.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna start taking Manny Machado second round and start taking all these guys. But
don't watch the one where I took DeGrom because I didn't have anybody queued. But
oh goodness, yeah, I autoed Trout today on accident because of the LTE Wi-Fi thing, and it just gut punch.
Yeah, we'll see before the end of this draft if I reveal my Trout exposure from pre everything, but it's it ain't pretty. So if you guys are nice and the chat really needs it, then we'll supply it.
You must have entered that. Yeah, we're using the whole alphabet now. Goodness gracious, you mother ever.
Not even at the third draft yet.
So you must have, Chris. You must have entered these at almost like the tipping point of when they started to fill pretty fast. Because if you would have gotten them a little bit earlier, I mean, it would have been like, oh, there's a draft filled. Next day, there's a draft filled. Like next 12. But then you were just for one point, it was baseball. I'm like, oh, should we alert him to let him know that the draft is going?
It was so bad because I was watching the fill rates going in, and I was like, this is just glacial. This is like so slow. Like, I'm gonna be great. I'm just gonna queue it up. I'm gonna kick back. I'm gonna have like a week or two's worth of entertainment here as these like trickle in. And then you Fox did a show like the next day or two, I think. And I was like, oh Jesus. And then I was in that draft. I think I was at a winery, and just like I was not in the right headspace to be doing that. And I forget someone put it in the Discord, and I was like, oh, you're up. And I'm like, 13 rounds in or something. And I had just like all of my favorites essentially, and then was able to tune in and pick up a couple of guys. But yeah, there's some rough ones in my history. So we're just gonna let it be, and hopefully it brings good karma for the pennant, because that one I'll have to make a more concerted effort. But this was definitely a donation on my part.
Yeah, but speaking of Trout, I have a lot of him in this contest too.
Yeah,
he was. We were. Somebody posted it over there. I think Nez posted his second dinger, or his second this contest, 7th inning stretch. He didn't post his first. I'll just say that he did go to his second. So I wonder what's on that first one. But I started looking back at my original ones. I was like, oh, started with Trout.
Dude,
He was such a good value all up and down the first round, according to me, when I first started drafting for this.
Dude, my first draft is just so chalked. It is. Let me read this off to you. We got a pitching staff of DeGrom, Pablo Lopez, Cortez at 122, Nestor at 122, Eduardo Rodriguez, John Gray, Alex Cobb, and everyone's favorite, done for the season, Lance McCullers. And then just throws in there an Aaron Judge at pick 2. It's just it's so chalked. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Everyone's talking about the early edge, and I'm just like, yeah, the early edge of getting half of your guys not performing or not on the field. Like,
I got such good ADP value on Ellie De La Cruz, and the rest of my lineup isn't starting.
I have 2 Ellie De La Cruz lineups with 6 pitchers, and 2 of the pitchers are done for the season. Drew Rasmussen and freaking Lance McCullers. Oh, it's a rip. It's a rip. Yeah, at least I got Ellie De La Cruz in the 20th. Paired with some junk.
I keep checking in on that perfect game that we were all in from before the season, and my team has just been humming along the whole, like, every week I've been in the top 2 or 3, just steadily, like, out in front, like, just pacing. And then it was like we hit the DeGrom speed bump, and now we're down to 5 pitchers. And then Julio pulls a hamstring. We're down to 4 pitchers.
Oh,
Bassett like just didn't pitch for a bit. Sean Manaea, don't know why I took that guy, but like he's just kind of around. And everyone else has been like really carrying, and Trout was helping carry too. And then we just Trout like goodbye. So that team has now gone from like solid to like we're hanging on to 4th with like dear life. And as soon as that goes away, which is going to be like fucking Wednesday of next week, it's just going to crush the currently winning, and it's going to be not a good day. So I'm going to have to just like leave the app for a little bit and then come back.
I'm currently trying to find which was I in this one.
Oh yes.
Oh.
Don't worry. You have no sweat. It's okay.
Freaking Nez and Darksheep are just out here leading the pack at 8. Oh, F net.
Yeah.
My lineup is pretty thin. I got Reese Hoskins on there. I'm like, because that's also the lineup that I look at the most, because I don't feel like scrolling through all the games. And it's the only of the 3 perfect games that I'm close, that I'm not in 11th place currently. So that's the one I look at the most. But it's rough. So I was really happy that Manoah came back and looked like he could throw a baseball again. So,
oof, man. This is my infield in this perfect game is who on earth said Will Myers was a good pick? Come on, who on earth, John? Come show yourself, because you got me on Will Myers so hard, and this man isn't even on a team anymore.
You know what the funny part is? The thesis was probably that there were going to be a ton of open Reds ABs. They're in a hitter's park, and they got a young guys that can smash, and all of that went true. And it was like, Will Myers, just get the fuck out! Like, you're not even close to being part of the equation here.
Was Spencer Steer even in the? Was he in the player pool?
Yes, I have 2 Spencer Steers. I'm very content with my Spencer Steer. I remember drafting him once, and then someone posted about it, and then Dagus Max was like, "Yeah, Steer. That's the guy." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Steer." So I threw him in a couple ones, but yeah, the Reds are fun. Yeah,
shout out Dagus, by the way. I'm so happy his Reds are just that must be so much fun. That's just great. The Reds are America's team. Our Reds. You know how last year, or for football, it was our Lions. It's our Reds now. So I'm sorry.
On board this one.
I'm sorry. As a resident Brewers fan, I know it hurts you, but they're our Reds.
They're Canada's team too, because of Joey Votto. So can't sell them short there. So
I do love Joey Votto. He's an excellent person.
How can you not? The guy's just a legend.
All right. So here, I was very skeptical on Josh Jung until very recently, but I've been just smashing this Texas stack. It kind of goes in the opposite direction of the games, though. Numi, what's up with Texas and their games played?
That's one thing I want to make sure everyone is clear with my standing of this. Like, I love the 14 games, but yeah, Texas obviously plays. If you go and look at the sheet, you'll see they play of the total games remaining, 64, so it's the least. And then you go and look at their final round and everything, and it's one game less. Take it for what it's worth. I'm trying to use them as micro edges and not just deter myself from just being like, oh, Texas can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's silly. Like, Texas and Corey Seager, like I said today, I have Corey Seager. It's just those when Corey Seager's sitting there with like a Pete Alonso or any of these other guys that have the 14 games, and maybe I just potentially like Pete Alonso more just in a vacuum, which is crazy. I know Corey Seager's WRC plus, yada yada, Nez, get out of here. It's just, yeah, you can see their schedule and you can take it for what it's want. They have Toronto, and then they have Cleveland, Boston, Seattle. So, but yeah, they have 4 less games than the most. Or than the Braves, and then 3 less than the second. So take it for what it's worth. But yeah, they're going to be playing 4 less games, 3 less games than those guys up there. I put it together just to basically see at a glance, because like I just wanted to know who was playing the most games, who was playing the least, and it just so happened to be like, hey, the best team in baseball, the best offense in baseball, is playing the most games. So it's like, sure, I'll just continue to draft Braves over and over and over again and be happy and content with that. But yeah, if you go and look at the sheet, which we have linked, Nez has tweets, they're linked all in the Discord. Yeah, you'll see that they are one of the teams that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that play like the least amount. What did Chip just say?
He needs something to degen, so he's on to DraftKings because he's maxed this contest.
How rich, bud? How rich? You're gonna go win you're gonna win the heat check over there too, bud? Oh my goodness. Draft 100% Bryce for me, please. Feel something.
But I haven't talked about it much, but DraftKings has been lit. I've got maybe like 15 drafts over there.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy for ADP. If you draft a few of these and get an idea of ADP here, you can go over there and just find some absolute steals in value.
Yeah.
How much money are we collectively leaving on the table just because their interface is an absolute nightmare and a pain in the ass to use? Like, because those, I feel like every time I see someone posting about it, it's like, please just let me have this, but not with the like agony of going through trying to actually acquire it.
Yeah, Nez over and over again is constantly talking about how bad that interface is, but yet just it's like the tug of war of the interface is so bad. The lobbies are literally softer than anything we've ever seen in our life. Like, it's like entering a cash game lobby and you invited your friends and family and you invited all your cousins that don't know anything. And it's like, yeah, the Sheep's team that he posted in there, when you had like Tatis and then you scroll down to the rest of them, I literally just was like, it was like the Patrick gif of him just going, I was astonished.
It was Tati. This was like the second draft I did before anybody like Nathan Eovaldi was going in the second round, which isn't terrible, but based on what he's done so far. So I understood where it was coming from, but I put together Tatis, Jordan, Kyle Tucker, and Aaron Judge on the same outfield. Yeah, and Ellie's actually going higher there.
Oh my goodness. Well, the only thing that we have to say about there is that there's most likely not 20th or 18th round. I don't know how many rounds there are, but there's not last round Ellie De La Cruz teams or middle round Ellie De La Cruz teams. So, by the way, I see John in here trying to, funny his way into this. Thank you, Chris, for defending the Ceases. Myers was simply cradled down. Just shut up there, John. Shut up there, Mr. Live in Paradise, yada, yada, yada. No, you tried to sell Will Myers as being like the guy. Get out of here.
But he was right on his tool shed takes. The tool shed.
And we were wrong on the Buxton takes. Oh, that's
well, yeah.
Knew me. There's always next year, bud. Okay.
Hey, there's always the second half. There's always
we'll get it back.
Second half.
That's true.
There's always and there's always our contest, the pennant.
That's well, yeah, I guess that. Yes, they should. He should be there. He'd be a fun stack. That's like that
Well,
could
no, I
actually
didn't
be-
meant for Byron. I just meant to get my money back so
Oh,
far. But
okay.
no, don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I was trying to think of a way to like gracefully let you down. From
No,
that
we're
one.
Yeah,
doing
I was like,
we're doing the Soda Slam. we're doing we have shirts printed. It's called the Soda Slam. And it's every single major sports team gets to the first round of the playoffs and then loses. That's the Soda Slam, baby. Let's go. Print the shirts. Let's go. That's us. No one go. I mean, we're great. We go to the playoffs and we fraudulent it up. That's what we do.
Oh,
And there goes Chris.
we lost him. All right. I don't think I've counted games for DraftKings. I haven't put that much time into it.
No, I haven't. I don't have much equity on DraftKings. So I haven't really gone into that much. That's a redacted site for me.
Yeah, I got yelled at for not taking Murphy, so I'm gonna take him with Harris in the last draft. But
so one thing that I've been doing is I always, if anyone watched the end of the show where I totally butchered Travis Darno's name and just said we're not even gonna go to that, but I've been taking a little bit of Travis in just any Brave, and one thing I did to feel a little something in like my second to last draft is I took both of them. Probably a little silly and stupid, but you know what? I'm getting to the point where like I just want to have something different. I should probably get back on the train of just drafting like sound lineups, so I'm not just like burning money away. But yeah, I've been taking a little bit of Murphy and Travis, and the catcher thing is I personally haven't been worried about ABs or anything or the risk of getting injured more or anything like that. Have you been waiting that sheep as you've been drafting, or Chris
for injuries,
did your
catcher,
25?
No.
Okay.
No.
For ABs though as well. Like obviously I know catcher ABs are going to be down, projections are going to be down. Are you worried about that at all when you're drafting?
Not for well, we talked about it previously. I have been for Sean Murphy, but I have been taking Will Smith, and then the late round guys, Salvador Perez and William Contreras, and those are the catchers I'm kind of into. Man, I don't like this pitcher, but I need to get another pitcher.
I would do Darvish.
I usually go Darvish here. I've seen a lot of people talking about Urias and how cheap he is, but I feel like he's going where he should be going, to be honest. That he's always been a run hot, and I think he's really the shift going away has hurt him and some of these other Dodgers guys that have gotten away through the excellent shift ability and defense that Dodgers did previously. But
so something I wanted to bring up since we're talking, this specific segment was going to be pitching. So, and maybe this is just, my brain thinks differently, but like when I look at these, James and who was else on the last stream?
Nick.
Nick. Okay, his real name is Nick, but I see him as the freaking smoking emoji
Yes.
and his
Yeah.
profile picture. Jim Lee. But so that point of Braxton Garrett of not having the track record of throwing that many innings, and all of a sudden he's up there and he's creeping up. That's something I've been consciously looking at for pitching. Like the reason why I put that is if you look at Darvish, the dude has like 87 innings so far this year. He can work the back end of this season. Guys that haven't had the track record, like I'm trying to go back in the lens when people were drafting early in the season, it's like, okay, what guys have actually had the track record of this many innings and how are they going to get? Like when you bring up guys that have never even thrown 100 or 130 and they're already creeping up to that mark, it's like they have me a little bit worried. Like Zach Eflin has me a little bit worried of how much more can this man go before something happens. The wear and tear happens. It's bound to happen. And like I've just been more apt of taking these pitchers that have a little bit more. I think like an injury happened or an injury happened earlier in the season and then they started late. Like Glass now doesn't have that wear and tear. He's still only like 47, 50 innings in there or something like that. I've been really hammering guys that I think can end up being a workhorse for this contest, not that was previously a workhorse in the season and that could potentially get that IL stint or that wear and tear, or they shut him down, yada, yada. The Kershaw point was by James was perfect. They don't need to bring him back at all. They want him for the playoffs. So when I've been targeting my pitchers, that's been that really cognizant in my mind. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. Curious your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, you hit on Zach Eflin. The other one I was only recently realized was Mackenzie Gore. I had been in on him for just how good of a K rate he has. His K per 9 is pretty awesome. But then I realized about his innings being behind. But you won't like this other name that I pulled up here, Nui, in terms of one of the reasons I'm not loving him is Freddie Peralta. You're going to need more beers. And some of it is injury related, but he's reaching some. I mean, he could get up to 150, like if they wanted to push him, and depending on what happens with Woodruff, maybe they try to do it. But that's my biggest concern about Freddie is how many times they're gonna. I mean, the Brewers bullpen is not the Brewers bullpen that we thought of in the last few years. I mean, Devin Williams is still excellent, but they haven't found anybody else. So they don't have the ability as much as they had in the years past to go to the bullpen. But I think they're still going to try it just because that's their general philosophy the last few years and how the team's structured. But you talk about Freddie Peralta being your highest guy. I like him, but I don't like him that much.
That's fair, and that's I totally get it. That's been just a stand. It's been a guy that I wanted to get overweight to. Part of it was the 14 games. When I looked at Milwaukee's schedule, I really enjoyed seeing Miami, Washington, St. Louis, and Miami in the final weeks. So a lot of it has been that, and because of the K's and but I totally agree with you. He's been someone that I've been slowly getting like not taking as more, apping for like a Lance Lynn and adding him more over and over. But 100% agree with you there. That's been something that's been really, really stuck in my mind is like paying for previous production and then 2 weeks in they're done, or they're done for the 2 weeks. And it's like we said, having a dead roster spot just is and multiple dead roster spots, especially at high draft capital, is just a shoot in the foot. Like you're immediately just behind the gun. It's tough. So
yeah. And sorry to keep going here, Chris, without letting you speak at all, but that is my biggest risk. I feel like on Grayson Rodriguez is not that he's going to be bad when he comes back finally. It's that he might be limited in game.
That's a good point.
Baltimore needs pitching, or they can benefit from letting him pitch long, but he's another guy that probably hasn't got a huge innings count after injuries.
Two things for me on this. This is really good because this was on my list of things we need to talk about, because before the season, I distinctly remember we went through the top guys from last year throughout the year and the top guys in the playoffs as well. And the one random, but maybe not so random thing that just kept popping up was so many of them were from playoff teams. Like it was some crazy number of like X of the top 20 pitchers were from playoff teams, both in the playoffs and just throughout the course of the regular season, which makes sense that, guys are getting pushed to make the playoffs, going deeper in games, relying on them. More of them are older. Like those types of guys, I think, are even more valuable in this, where the time frame is compressed and you kind of each week means more. So if you have the Braxton Garrett's perfect example, because it's like, yeah, he could be the lights out for the 4-week regular season and 2 weeks of the playoffs. But if it's mid-September and he's been on the shelf for 2 weeks because they have nothing to play for and the only thing would be like injury risk, then it's just like a dead pick, and a dead roster spot is killer. So I think that maximizing the amount of guys that are going to be playing in the last 2 weeks of the year, especially on contending teams, I think is huge when it comes to pitching. The other thing is that it's kind of especially with young pitchers, it's almost the opposite approach that we have in football, where when you're drafting for the end of the season, you're projecting, rookies and sophomores to be growing into these big roles by the end of the year. And it's very easy to take that mindset and try and apply it into baseball, and that can definitely work for hitters. Like, there are going to be some guys that are going to go nuts at the end of the year that just have not been up. They're basically going to get handed full-time jobs in August and September and saying, go have a good 6 weeks and they'll make a difference. But like for pitchers, it's going to be the opposite. Like, you're going to see guys shut down. You're going to see guys limited in game. Like Sheep said, that could almost even be worse in some spots where you have like 3.5, 4 innings of like effectiveness. And it's just like, that's adding nothing to your team, where you could get like, I don't know, someone mediocre who's pitching on a contending team, but it's like they're going to be going at like Jose Barrios, random, but like just he's getting the ball every 5 days. And like
Kyle Gibson was the guy that Nick was talking about. Yeah,
that's a perfect example. Yeah, exactly. So I think I would definitely lean that way.
And another, go ahead. Yeah,
if you are looking at innings, it is important that to know that Underdog does not put minor league innings in the numbers. So Braxton Garrett is actually at a decent amount to get to 150, I think, this year. So I don't know that I'm too concerned. The last 2 years, he's gotten between different things. He's gotten up over 110, close to 120. So I'm not too worried about that with him. It's more that I'm confused how he completely changed to a strikeout pitcher.
Yeah. Well, for me, another thing is also just the playoff schedule in the final weeks.
No one said Marco Gonzalez.
What?
No one.
Lord.
He does play a lot of my favorite stack in. I like Milwaukee for the 14 games there, for the 13 games, and then they have that. No, they have 14 games in the finals. So the Miami does play Milwaukee and then Atlanta, New York Mets, Milwaukee. So it's not the best championship schedule in which you would like be like, oh, I got Braxton Garrett going. He's facing the Braves. It's like, good luck. But again, those are just micro edges that I personally have been going about. But yeah, no, that's totally fair. It's just been something that's been in my head about pitching.
So I kind of thought about this actually after watching your stream. Sorry to jump to a different subject here real quick. We can get back to pitching, but you were talking about how you were stacking up Atlanta and Mets for the games, and it made me think about how it's not my turn to pick. It looks like my turn to pick. Well, we got Ozuna, but thinking through that, and then thinking through this whole like malaise of drafting over and over and over and over and over, is that I realized I do the same stacks of teams, and it's usually based on who I start with from that team. So something that I haven't done it super well now, but something I want to get better at into the next full season is making stacks of teams that aren't the same. So like in this case, I started my Atlanta stack with Michael Harris, and I added Sean Murphy and Marcell Ozuna, which, I mean, they're on Atlanta. We like Atlanta. We've been over that many times, and it's obvious to like Atlanta, but no one's really putting together these three guys. They're putting combinations of these with the stars. So that's just something, and this kind of kicked off from your show the other day.
You're giving away my strat right now, which
okay.
Which is perfectly fine. But I love 100% of what you're saying is what I do. I've been really apt to add mini stacks of these teams in the 14 finals and still be like, okay, my main stack is Boston, but because I didn't get Acuna, Riley, Olsen, that's okay. That's just fine with me. I'm still okay with adding these ancillary pieces from Atlanta, New York, Washington, Baltimore, Philly, Milwaukee, I'm still fine with adding those mini stacks into my quote unquote main stack that I've already been doing. That's one thing that I felt myself doing in like the first 10 to 15 drafts, that I built this little sheet and I'm like, okay, you're going to follow this sheet for 75 drafts. Well, all your teams are going to look the same. So I'm like, what would happen if in theory I did the Atlanta, New York Mets mini stack and built out like Brandon Nimmo. It was like Francisco Alvarez, Starling Marte. And then I would put Sean Murphy like you did, Ozuna, and I would just have that. Just having pieces to those teams and to those 14 games are really valuable. And then just because you don't start with the top guys on those teams, the stars, doesn't mean you can't add those pieces in. And then obviously you get the people in there, oh, they're stealing my stack, they're sniping. It's like, I'm building out a perfectly fine little mini stack in which we love correlation in this contest. And it's like, if I just continually only built Atlanta stacks when I have Atlanta pieces, like you said, all of my teams are going to look the exact same. So I've been really cognizant of just trying to be like, I'm fine with adding a 2-player mini stack if it's Sean Murphy and Ozuna or anyone like that, or if I get LBs and then someone else later. Like, I've been perfectly fine with that and not trying to be like, I got this guy, I have to keep going down the list and adding people. So I agree with you there. I like adding mini stacks of all these teams up there that have a lot of games and good finals weeks.
Yeah, I love that point, and I want everyone to just write that down and put a pin in it for like 6 to 8 weeks from now when the pennant comes out and we get neck deep in that, because I think we crushed the pennant last year with just like a handful of very simple things. And I think that Numi, we landed on like the two team, just all out, stack it, like go for the World Series, like just being the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one thing that I got really hung up on was being the guy who was trying to land kind of the like shoot the moon perfect, unobstructed, top 6 from one team, top 6 from the other team, and let's run it. And then in the end, because just the way playoff series work, and you can carry this back into this contest or even the Dinger playoffs, like it's 1 week is such a short sample, one series is such a short sample that like you can have the like maybe you don't get Jordan on your Astro stack, you don't get Acuna, but you load up the next 5 guys and then you can box out the Acuna teams if he has a shitty week kind of thing. So I'm totally fine with that when you're trying to like angle your way into a playoff contest or a playoff round victory. I think that's totally valid. And like it's a great way, like you said, Sheep, to mix up your builds, because we all have favorites among these guys. Like all of my preseason Brave stacks, none of them have Ozzy Albies because I just don't like him and I don't think he's good. So that's like, it's okay, but it's not great because he's been pretty good this year. So I got really good Braves teams, but I'm missing the piece.
Nobody saw him taking the Byron Buxton model and just going for power and not stealing any bases this year and succeeding. That was not in. I don't think anybody expected that out of Ozzy.
Is that the Byron Buxton model? Because I sure as heck don't see that on the field.
Well, yeah,
I do.
Results aside.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Jeremy Byron Buxton slander at me.
Jeremy Pena is the guy from the playoffs last year that even if you didn't start with Jordan and Tucker and you just had a Pena, I mean,
exactly,
you were set. All right, so I did build a little mini here. I think Jared Kelenic has gotten some bad press or something. Everybody was so hyped about him from his good streak that in this contest he just keeps falling, and he can just put up another streak like he did before in this contest. There's no reason he can't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Suarez is just a guy that can put up home runs in a week, even if he's bad the rest of the contest. So.
Yeah, I love that. I've been all on Kelenic and Suarez and the Mariners just because I think they're suppressed. Some of them are, but yeah, it's Suarez specifically.
And Buxton has more home runs than Bryce Harper.
All right, cool. Fantastic. Great stuff. Awesome. Love it. We're not going to make this a Byron Buxton stream. Get out of here.
Okay.
Stop it.
Yeah. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, no, neither do I. He's dead to me.
The one thing that this Trout injury is not killing me in the regular season stuff is I have like no good Bryce, like none. I have no like cheap Bryce. I have no Bryce whatsoever, pretty much. Like I was just not. He just never fell into my lap at the right times. So
probably because Chip was in your room.
Yeah, that was also a very, very good point. But if Bryce was having the like a Bryce year, that was like number one bad scenario for me. So I'll take my small victory with not having any Bryce. But thank you, Chip, for taking one for the team in those God knows how many drafts.
So, Chris, you said you got to 25 now, and you just kind of capped it at 25?
Yeah, I loaded up 25, and I was like, this is realistically like the amount of brain width that I have to tackle these. I did not expect them to go off all within. I think I loaded them up on like a Wednesday afternoon, and then I was done by like Friday. So that was certainly a thing.
Okay, Sheep, you need to explain this. Did you just take him for Chris, or are you fully back on Alek Manoah at this point?
I'm not fully back on him. I just want
needed
more.
a pitcher. Okay,
I needed a pitcher. I wanted some more. I am off Hunter Green. I'm off Eduardo Rodriguez for the most part. You didn't sell me on Bailey Ober when you came in.
That price is outrageous. I like him, but I don't like him that much.
In this part, I would have taken Mackenzie Gore until I realized about his innings thing. So
that's a good point. I would rather have Kenta Maeda over Bailey Ober, and specifically for that inning part, is Kenta has barely any tax on that arm so far this year, and we're going to need him. So he's going to be a focal point of our staff going forward. And like I continue to hammer, anyone playing a plethora of AL Central teams, give me anyone that is pitching against the AL Central, because wow, is it terrible.
You guys have it so good. It's just
good. Oh yeah, it's
sickening.
So good. We're gonna pop that champagne, and then all of a sudden we're gonna go face the Yankees and freaking get swept. So welcome to the Twins. We celebrate the division titles.
Yeah, well, the Manoah pick definitely was not for me. This is admittedly a much better price than we were getting on him preseason when things were just out of hand. And this is definitely a fine floor. Like I don't mind taking him here. The one random curveball that has been like thrown around a couple times is that 100 Ryu might be like closer to returning than we think. And if that happens, then just like he finds his way into the rotation probably, and then it's like, okay, now we have 6 dudes, and who gets cut? When I was the guy that got sent down this year, so I don't know. Like that's pretty out there, but he looked good against the Tigers. We shall see. At this point, like he's fine, and he's like a guy that he actually, you take away the name and the stats and all the other shit that comes with it. If you think about kind of the guy that Numi talked about before, which is just like a dude who probably has pitched a little bit less at this point in the year than you would expect, that is on a contending team, that the reins could like fully come off in the second half if he just like starts pitching well. Like Manoah does have, like, he's got innings to go. So he needs to find, a working slider and make batters not hit the ball when he throws it. Those are 2 things I think he should probably work on to be more successful. But once he does those things, maybe he can, get some more innings and get out there.
That sounds like something you would tell me. Hey, when you're up there, just try and not have the guys hit the ball. It's like, oh, geez, is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I would not go, middle with 91 and no movement. Just me, but that's okay.
You're not a baseball player, so I don't know.
What do I know?
Yeah,
what do I know?
Oh man, I can only imagine you sitting there watching Manoah pitch, and then just an inning goes, and you're just like, all right, well, we'll turn this game off and we'll check it later. Oh goodness.
See you guys in New Hampshire. Yeah, no, it was rough there for a little bit, and it was funny because I almost had to become the moderate Manoa person in most of my everyday life because everyone just turned on him so quickly, and it was like, holy shit! Like, okay,
Well,
all right, he's probably not this bad. He's definitely not as good as he was last year, but he's probably not literally the worst pitcher in the league at the moment. He'll find level somewhere, but it was like the pitchforks were out. Everyone was packing his bags, driving to the airport. It got heated for a little bit.
At least you didn't take Manoa over Gossman.
Yeah, those poor souls.
Yeah,
pour one out for me. Oh, my entire everything just looks like it's riding on one bullet to return an investment of something, get the money back because yikes. It's been a rough year. We're hoping the 7th inning stretch turns this around.
Yeah, we were talking about that perfect game that I'm somehow cashing. My first pitcher is Alek Manoah that I took in that contest. So I don't know.
Incredible.
He's gonna come back and just make sure you stay afloat. Let's go.
Yep.
It's gonna be a Manoah mid-August Saturday start against fucking Kansas City or something. It's gonna keep sheeping forth and bounce me out. It just right now. That's exactly how this is gonna go.
I got you. How about a round 3 start in September against Oakland?
Ooh,
how about a round 2 start against Cleveland? I mean, he's got plenty of opportunities.
Here's a question for you guys. Not even just Texas specifically, but the next guy up here in my queue is Ezekiel Duran. I already have 3 infielders from Texas. Are you ever adding a 4th at the same position for a team?
I don't mind it. As long as it's not going to cause it, as long as one of them isn't going to lose out, it's not a lose situation. If it's 4 guys for 3 spots, in real life, then I don't love it. But if it's a situation the Padres coming into this year where you have Tatis kind of out of position, then you're fine because he's always going to be in the outfield and you can fit 3 other guys in. As long as the playing time works out, I have no problem stacking up 3 or 4 infielders, 3 or 4 outfielders from the same team. As long as they're going to get the ABs, it doesn't make a difference to me.
Okay. That makes sense. I don't know why I have a blockage there. I just have this mental blockage of relying on that many infielders from a team going off at the same playoff week. And that doesn't make sense because the correlation should be there. So definitely something I need to work on.
Sorry, I'm getting literally a thunderstorm right now. It's just hailing. So I'm looking out there, but yeah, no, lightning's just lighting up the sky. Oh my goodness.
All right.
So we are looking. Let's review your team here since we got 9 picks through. So
okay, yeah. So
I'm interested because is this something you do often, or it just happened to fall into it? In basically, you took Burns as your ace, and then kind of went down, and now you're just taking pitchers below 100. So are you looking for 7 on the squad like your normal?
Yeah. Yep. This is let's see. Let's pull up ADP quick. I'll show you. There's a daily out for Friday. Can't think about that yet.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it is this group where I'll start Framber less so, Gallen less so. Snell I've gotten off of because I have so much of him at better ADP. But he could still smash at this. But starting at Castillo, McClanahan, Burns, Wheeler, Nola, Glasnow, starting out with one of those guys as my ace, and then filling in up to 7 as I go. That is my common build, and just sort of taking value and then at the end mixing and matching. So this one I just mixed because you had said I jumped him up. I don't think it really matters at the end at this point, which
I agree.
How deep you go in the pitcher pool.
Yeah, no, that was perfectly fine. But like I've been saying it on streams. When I get to pick 15, 14, or sorry, round 14, 15, I throw ADP out the window and I just start taking guys that I like and in certain spots. So one guy that just went that you said you were out on in the Discord is Adam Duvall.
Yeah.
Reasoning for that is, or what's your take there? Because that's someone I've been clicking quite a bit and just taking anywhere from round 15 and on. So
I just think he's bad at baseball.
and that'll do it. That'll do it.
And the best thing he has going for him is Boston might not be in contention, and they might be playing people that are bad at baseball. We can.
No, that's fine. We don't need to get
Durant's still here, so I'm going to take him,
Yeah,
and then
take
I'm going to be
Durant.
666, and we'll light some candles in a pentagram. But Chips did say if you are stacking more from one team, the games might matter even more. But no, let's do it. We're here. So I just think Adam Duvall is falling off the cliff is basically it. I don't trust that hot streak that he had.
You don't trust that 1 week at the beginning of the season? No, I was kidding.
Yeah. And this could be because I drafted so much Adam Duvall last year. So that might be part of my problem. But let's pull up his excellent. Yeah. So
it's not great.
If you look at this first week, it is literally like career record high. So this just defaults to WOBA. Let's pull up.
I've seen enough sheep. I'm out.
That certainly paints a picture.
Yeah. I've
So-
seen enough. I'm screwed. I'm dead.
I mean, he could still have a week like that, but the K percentage here was basically a career low. Well, I gotta make a pick here. We'll go back.
Yeah. Don't distract you from filling out this God Squad.
Yeah, I will say on the Duval thing like that, whatever his ADP is, it's like not right at the end, but it's in that like speculative late range, and I feel like that's probably anchored to people that drafted a lot preseason, paid attention a lot in the first couple weeks, saw him go crazy nuclear, did some other things for a month or two, getting back into it now, drafting some teams, and you go Duval
Well,
cheap.
Isn't he free? Isn't he like absolutely free? He's like
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
224.
He is
Okay.
last round.
He's
So
already going.
I think
Goodness gracious, never mind.
I think the upside is still okay. He's
at that
still hitting
price.
the ball. His max EV is still high. He can still hit home runs. He has an awesome home park. He's got a good offense like around him. So I get why. But
If I can chime in from a statistical perspective here, if you're striking out 40% of the time that you go to the plate over a 15 or so game sample size, rolling, like that's not ideal for putting up the fantasy points. So I would recommend that he makes a little more contact, and then we can start drafting him.
yeah,
Alec Manoah, throw balls that aren't down the middle of the plate. Adam Duvall, make more contact. It's simple as this, people. We're just giving you the skeleton key.
Next year, this all goes behind the paywall.
There you go. The other issue is up here at the top of his Fangraphs page, and this number here, this 34 years old, which always sounds dumb because that's younger than I am. But
Yeah, you like old guys. Come on now.
And I like old guys.
Yeah.
But I'm worried when they hit the cliff.
No,
Chris Taylor's another guy that I feel like has hit the cliff. There's some talk of him somewhere. I think in your stream chat today.
There was Chris Taylor talk. I should have shut that down right away.
But yeah, and actually, outfielders with age. The other guy that comes up is Starling Marte. I don't know really what to do with him. If he can find anything, he's got a really nice ADP for what he could still put together. I was worried going into the season because I had, rightly or wrongly, a all-star Orlando Arcia. That's so wrong. But rightly or wrongly, I had attributed so much of Marte's game to stolen bases, and that his speed had gone down so much in the last few years. But we're seeing a good price on him if he can figure something out. But I don't know about Marte. He's another old guy that I'm not too interested in. Another old name that I'm surprised that he hasn't hit the cliff is Justin Turner this year. I don't know. He's been really doing well for that Boston offense. But again, there's some risk there too.
Yeah, Turner's been one that's I haven't been clicking as much. I've been taking more Duran late, specifically for, I think CLT put it in there. Yeah, Duran took basically Duvall's job out there. So I've been taking more Verdugo, Yoshida, Duran, stuff like that. Turner's just got, his prices got pretty rich. So, all right. So you're looking at 667. You're going to finish us off with a pitcher.
I think so. Although I don't really have a ton invested into infielder here. I don't feel super comfortable with this. And
your pitching isn't terrible.
Yeah, I kind of like this group.
Yeah.
So I actually think I am going to go to an infielder here.
Okay. Let's go. Let's click Rowdy Tellez, your boy.
Accomplished.
Oh man, I don't know what to do with Rowdy Tellez. I want him to be rowdy, and locally he still gets the rowdy chants are fun.
Tyler O'Neill, no Bo, my guy. We love that.
Let's queue up. Let's queue up Jorge Polanco. You brought him up. He's coming back. I have not been. You brought him up on your stream this afternoon. I haven't been clicking him because I'm totally worried about his body. Speaking of guys hitting the wall.
Mm-hmm. He just turned 30 today.
Yeah, he is not. He's past those the peak age.
He's got knee issues.
28, but yeah, the reoccurring issues are rough. I'm gonna throw him on here and be happy. But
I like it. I totally get it. The injury. He has a rehab stint coming. Hopefully late next week or on the weekend to the St. Paul Saints. Hopefully he gets back up there. But you want to talk about a guy that offers upside, and it's along the lines of you're looking at this last round. I think I'd look at Tyler O'Neill. Maybe that's just because I have literally a lens that I love him. Otherwise, he offers just as much of the upside as anyone probably when you could go to round 18. We've seen what he's done.
If people are taking Mickey Moniak in the last round, nothing says Jorge Polanco could outscore somebody than Mickey Moniak. Yeah. So it's definitely there. I don't know. I'm surprised to see CJ Abrams go here. I guess somebody's building a Washington stack. They do have a lot of playoff games, I believe.
Yep, they do. They have 14 in the finals.
Yeah.
And they have 67 total, but and they do play Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, and then they have home against Chicago White Sox, but then they have that series against the Braves. So it always scares you.
Yeah. But I don't know if Lane Thomas will be there. And I haven't really talked too much about Lane Thomas, but he's definitely overperforming his expected numbers too. So John's in here. He wants us to sauce his team. Normally I charge for this, John, but for you, we'll sauce it for free. A 677. Glasnow, Luzardo, Dylan C.
What are you doing?
Kodai Senga, Max Fried, Ranger Suarez. Hey, this is I just described it. This is a pitcher roster for me. I would have probably added a seventh, maybe not, but I kind of like this. I can't really sauce this. Start at
I
glass.
can.
Okay.
His whole entire brand is in shambles taking Dylan Cease. I don't know what
All right.
what he is doing there, but his entire brand is in shambles. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have a stream with him ever again. That's sad. I'm a little there's a tear rolling down my eye. Anyway,
This is a cry for help or potentially a kidnapping. So I'm gonna get on the next flight out to Vancouver and make sure that John's okay. Otherwise, the staff is real nice. Glasnow as the like SP1 in the like 50-ish range. I love that. I think he's probably oh no, bad pun. No. That's cease and desist. Get that out of here. Oh man.
You're not even a dad that I know of, John. You can't use these dad puns.
This is pathetic.
I'll ride for the Glasnow pick all day, every day. I think he's got like legitimate finals winning upside anytime he takes the ball. So if he gets out there in the final week and he can, even if he goes 6 innings, that could be like 13 strikeouts or something absurd. So he's built for this format that, yeah, love it.
Or that he knows of. I don't know. The only one is Ranger Suarez at the end. I feel like he's gotten too much steam. I think he survived too much on contact. He's not a late round strikeout pitcher with upside that I want. So infield, that's where he went 7, right? Yeah. Oh, he's missing a pick. You're right. That's weird.
It's because it stops off. He was the first. Yeah. He was the 101. So, yeah.
So let's get back in there. Does that still be a problem? No, there it is. 7th infielder. All right. Austin Riley, Will Smith, Gleyber Torres, Anthony Rizzo, Anthony Volpe, Salvador Perez, and Brandon Lowe. Man, I have drafted. This is on me. I've drafted way too much Anthony Rizzo in this contest. I just keep clicking him. Bo Sox is into it, but man, I don't like this at all. Like Volpe's stopped striking out, so maybe that's something. But if Judge doesn't come back, like this, New York's toast. And
I like it. I'm taking a lot of Rizzo. I'm taking a lot of Rizzo as well. Okay. So I'm just on that as well. But yeah, I agree that if Judge doesn't come back, but I mean, hey, there's still like 7 games over 500 they're in the thick of it, kind of.
Yeah, fuck the Yankees forever and always. But I don't mind Rizzo and Volpe there. Gleyber is just always a tough sell for me. I don't know. I can never get behind the guy. Rizzo, the one thing with Rizzo is like September 6th or something, and they're in Yankee Stadium or whatever, and he just like pulls 3 around the pole and pokes one out, and then we're all wishing that we were John. But yeah, if Judge doesn't come back, or I mean, he has Judge, so Acuna Judge, shit.
Yeah,
that's pretty fun.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, he's like, don't get to my outfielders, boys." And
the latest report on Judge is that he has no timetable, which hasn't been. Well, at least that was just the tweet that I saw today. It's not great news. Sometimes that's been surprising to us. Guys will just come back, but Judge in the 2nd round is maybe a wasted pick if he's out until August.
I'll just push back and say I've been building a lot of Judge teams in which I hope that I can build around it and get Judge to that next round. Because if you're getting a 2nd round Judge with Acuna or anyone up there, I personally think it's just game over for anyone trying to compete against those teams that are potentially in the actual playoff rounds of this contest if he comes back and he's healthy. Maybe that's just my brain, but yeah.
Yeah, well, he did not do that because he has 3 total outfielders in my eyes. Ronald Acuna, Aaron Judge, and George Springer. After that, I mean, okay, I talked earlier about Luke Raley, and he has a good lineup position and a good offense, but I just don't believe in what Whit Merrifield. You, Chris, in your defense, you were you talked up Whit Merrifield in the offseason. I don't know publicly, but to me, I'm surprised what he's done so far, and I'm probably still just biased against the type of hitter that he is and how boring it is. But after that, James Outman and Nick Prado is just like, why'd you even make picks then?
I gotta come to John's defense here with the wit. Yeah, exactly. All-Star game legend. That's where wit shines, you know. I think that John, I think, was also on Team Wit from before the season, and the guy is just sometimes as dumb as it sounds. He's just a professional hitter, and teams just eat that shit up. Like, John Snyder wakes up every morning and he just can't fucking wait to pencil him into the lineup. He's like, where can I put Whit today? He's like, Vladdy needs a day off. All right, Whit, you're hitting second, but like, he just loves it. So I think he's max AB guy. Like, he's just gonna be out there all the time. And whenever someone else needs to not play, it's just so easy to keep Whit in the lineup to do something, and he just keeps doing stuff. So for that reason and that reason alone, I think he's like totally defensible, and especially with the Springer thing like that. I like the mini stack. I have a lot of Wit. I would keep pushing the Wit button until the ADP climbs. I think John took him like a good 10-15 picks ahead, and I think he's defensible up until like the 150s or 60s, because I think he's just going to be out there all the time.
All right,
You
so
said professional hitter. That was just, I felt like John entered your body for that.
Some people just no ball, you know.
Yeah. All right, so you guys are welcome to hang around for the last draft. I'm jumping in before I crash here, but we're getting on to draft number 3. You can pop out if you want. I'm welcoming in our last guest here while we wait for one more person. We got Lackey 20, Michael Lackey. How are you, my friend?
I am fresh off the airplane. I have been in a illegal entering state for the last 11 days, so I'm looking forward to getting caught up on my remaining drafts and figuring out if I want to enter this DK stuff or not, and go from there.
So you're not in the main event?
No, I'm no longer in the giant poke.
Uh-oh. Well,
bad individual, but that's okay.
All right, boys, I'm going to peace out. I got to get going, but it was awesome. Love it. Have a good night, everyone.
All right.
Peace.
See you later.
I got 10-15 more minutes in me, and then I will hand the reins over. But
all right.
Yeah, I'm still on Pacific time, so I'll be all right.
All right, so we got a little beef to squash here if we want to get into. John Badge Bro stream. I talked you up, or they were talking about you the day that you took down the entire daily underdog leaderboard. I think we squashed this beef right now. I know you didn't super love the reaction to some of your stacks that day, but I think you and John actually have a lot in common with your poker background, and I think that was just a miscommunication there.
Fair enough. Is that who I'm sitting with right now?
No.
Is that what you're saying? Oh. No, definitely no beef. I felt like the conversation was lengthy and obviously had lots of good points in it, but there were several instances where I felt like the conversation led to it, the answer being, oh, well, these are lazy lineups, these are whatever. And I personally did not like that at all. I thought that was quite disrespectful. So I'm gonna leave a comment where I find necessary. Obviously, I don't think anybody was trying to say that I'm lazy or whatever, but because nobody really knows me or knows my process. But I don't know. I just thought the whole discussion was interesting, and you and I talked separately. Like, there was a lot of reasons why I landed on that team that day, and sometimes things work out in ways you don't really anticipate. But there's lots of ways to play these contests, and I play to win them. and I look for ways to be in first place. So sometimes my lineups look really goofy. Sometimes I'm playing parts of the outcomes that you guys are not playing. But at the same time, there's no necessarily right way. We don't know what's going to happen today. We don't know what's going to happen in the second half of the season. And we're just trying our best to make educated decisions that if I draft teams a certain way, can I get first place? And, I don't think that there's, that should always be the priority to me.
Yeah. I'm overblowing it here and how I described it as beef and whatever. I just, I got to get those clicks, but no, I think
I was admittedly for like 5 minutes, I was a little like, really? But I honestly got over it pretty quickly. I'll admit.
Yeah. And I think when we were talking, after the fact, I think some of it is that your process is also probably more automated than some people's.
Absolutely.
You're setting up a lot of stacks and then auto drafting based on that.
Most of my daily baseball teams are, I would say at least half of them are auto drafted, but they're auto drafted in a way that, like, I have 14 players in a queue, right? I have a lot of different pitchers that could fall into the stack. And I also know there's different parts of the stack that I may or may not get based on the type of stack I'm trying to get. So, there's a lot of automation in my process. It's a long-winded way of saying it, but it's far from just auto drafting. It's unless there's massive overlay and I'm running out of time. Obviously, I'll send in I'll send in auto draft lineups in those scenarios all day long. But a lot of it goes to the bat. It's when I look at a daily contest, it's what pitchers am I shorting and what pitchers am I longing, and so what offenses am I going to carry along with that. I remember the day in particular that this conversation is about. I want to say it was a Houston pitcher. I forget which one, if I'm being honest. They were playing the Mets, I want to say.
Yeah, it was Mets stacks. I remember that. Yeah,
and the Houston pitcher's ADP was like 4.7. It might have been even top 3. It was like a first round pick. So I can say with 100% confidence he's in 1/6. He's 1/6 ownership, right? So he's in every single draft, and he's on 1/6 of teams. And that day, the bat had Javier ranked I want to say 9th overall in pitchers for that slate. And it was even it was an afternoon, it was an afternoon 6-game slate with 12 teams. It was a Wednesday afternoon. And that Houston pitcher was 8th overall in the bat's projected scores. Obviously, FanDuel scoring is pretty close to underdog scoring. I use it pretty generally. But when I see something like that, okay, so I can get a massive leverage against the guy that I wouldn't even draft. He wouldn't even be in my top 6 pitchers. I'm going to have 0% of that guy. So I'm going to capitalize on that I literally drafted every other pitcher with a Met stack. So I had, 9 of the top 21 teams or something like that. All of them were at least 3 or 4 Mets. Most of them were 5 onslaught stacks. And I just had all the various pitchers that I thought had a chance of scoring well that day. And, obviously I had a massive day because I took down most of the money. But, those things happen. But it's the way I play that's going to have these extreme results. Obviously, I have plenty of slates where I wipe out and have very little cashes. Depends.
Yeah. So this is all just. I wanted to bring this up because I need those guys to get you on with the show. I think, like I said, you and John coming from the poker background and so deep into all the sports, I think you'd mesh well. So I'm sure. So yeah. Anyway, here we are.
So what do we have so far? It looks like Tatis and Alonso.
Yep. I skipped over some guys to get.
So here, I'll add something on this topic of Alonso. listening to your shows, the last couple, I've been trying to catch up a little bit. So it sounds like the Mets are a part of an exclusive list of teams that have the max number of games in the finals. Is that what I understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of the added doubleheader of the Mets and the Braves.
I remember asking you once which teams are most likely to have future rainouts that are going to affect the schedule.
And
that could be a really interesting thing. If a team goes from a 7-game week to an 8-game week, that could be really insane for scoring in a lot of scenarios, for pitching, for batting, for everything.
Yeah, and you asked on the exact day that they had that rainout too.
Works funny.
I think
I'm going to add I added the Mets and the Braves into my player pool, which I have not done so far at 110 drafts.
Chris, we couldn't hear you there. No,
you're on mute if you weren't aware of that.
Doesn't now it shows mute, but I'm not sure what happened there.
Fair enough. I thought he tried to say something a couple times, but I couldn't hear him, and I was like, okay, he must not have said anything.
And he didn't have the mute symbol, so I don't know.
Like, I'm sure I'm talking a lot here.
No, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
I can definitely recognize the F-bomb. That is universal.
Yeah.
So I will be trying to get some Met stacks in these last 40 drafts for sure.
Yeah, you had messaged in the chat, you were away for a while. ADP's really shifted. So I don't know if it's...
Yeah, what happened to Bryce Harper? He was 12 at ADP last time I checked. Now I looked today, he's like 26. What's going on?
What's up? We got Ben here, number 4. Benny Boo.
Benny Boo, 42.
42. There we go. Nice rhyme.
Noble Sox, Eagles.
All right, how about now?
Hey,
now we're back. We're live.
I got new meat. I was firing off. I said I wanted to pretend to be John for the first couple minutes of this when you weren't sure who I was, and I could have just kept up the John persona, but I wouldn't have been able to do him justice. So I'm glad that I wasn't.
Yeah, you didn't look like the guy, and it sounded like I got to like we were like going to start talking about it right here and there. I was like, oh, that was a little interesting.
Yeah.
No. John's in the chat, so.
Okay. Yeah. I had something poignant to say about scheduling that I can't really remember. Oh, it was the rainouts. I was going to say that I tried to do something similar to that before the season and really go look at who had. It was like
it has to be a certain number of ballparks, right?
Yeah, and then I tried to look at who would have bad weather in the middle of the year that maybe would lead to more games at the end. Then I just got too deep, and then it was like a rabbit hole that I couldn't spiral my way out of. So I ended up with nothing productive out of that.
Miami plays in a covered dome, right? Or it's like retractable, so that they can play through it all. Tampa's got a dome. I would think the Florida teams would be bad, but they have that coverage. So I guess I don't really know where else it rains a lot.
Yeah, and the other thing
it's all selective, right? I guess
it is. I love the Alonso pick. Alonso was one of my heavily targeted round 2, 3 turn guys. I just like the upside is so massive with all the games, but then also just with the player and with the profile of when he hits, he's gonna hit in a multiple homer, big impact, lots of kind of high variance events, not like the single hitter type guy that's gonna cut you with a bunch of singles. He's gonna make a dent in a score. So I'm big on that and that kind of area.
East Coast teams mostly have the issues. That's fair enough.
It's gonna be hilarious when we have planned for all this finals week Mets Braves stacks, and then they have 2 rainouts that week, and they don't even score for 2
That's
games.
super real, right? Because there's still plenty of baseball after the money ends, right?
Yeah.
So there's plenty of that stuff could still be alive. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fascinating.
All right. I'm gonna add Nimmo here. I was thinking about taking Aaron Nola as pitcher 1, but I'm just gonna take this correlation with Nimmo.
Yeah, I
How's
probably would have done the
Goldschmidt been holding
same.
up for you this year?
He's fine. He's quiet, but he's
Yeah, it's been real quiet, but I feel like he still projects well every day.
yeah, and he just scores in so many ways. And he's not going to get traded. He's not going to lose playing time. This group, there's like Pete Alonso, Paul Goldschmidt, Rafael Devers. There's this group of infielders at let's pull it up here. Yeah, Corey Seager, Austin Riley. I talked about it in the first draft when I took Austin Riley and Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien, Trey Turner, Wander Franco. I have such a hard time taking a pitcher over any of those guys just for the scores that they can put up in floor and ceiling. This is interesting. This is Nez's first Glass Now share. We do get Nola to come back, so I am going to grab Nola here.
Got a lot of Nola this year.
Sounds like Nez needs to learn how to live a little.
Yeah. Obviously we had the scare with Glass Now coming out in the last inning. The latest news, he's starting Friday. I don't know how you have cramps in your hand and your leg, and that's a good thing.
Buddy,
but
that's like a regular Thursday for Glasnow, is like concerns and cramps and potential injuries. So he is unfazed at this point.
Yeah, I
have an odd memory of going to a Rays game and sitting next to Mama Glasnow. I don't know why that's my first thing that comes to mind here.
He doesn't drink water. There's no way he doesn't stay hydrated with that hair. Like, you don't have that nice a hair without hydrating.
Good shit.
That's where I'm at my analysis I'm on my second beer in my third draft and talking to different people. So here's the question of the hour of the last week, 2 weeks. Do you think this contest, Phil, we're at a nice 69.4%.
I think it has a shot of getting to 80.
That's
Me and
the number I
have been
pulled.
on Team 80 for a while.
I pulled completely out of my ass a week ago. 80.69 because, I had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. Let me pull it up here. I don't think it really tells us what we're going to see in the next little bit. They did open a daily contest for tomorrow. So I don't know how that's going to affect volume, but let's grab it here.
It's going to affect me depositing.
Fair enough. But yeah, so I've been taking a read on the contest at 2, which is basically an hour before the contest locks, Central Time every day, and we went from 5.8% the last 24 hours was 10%, and that was up to 63.29. So now that we're at a few hours later, we're at 69%. I don't know. Somebody good at math could figure out maybe a curve on this, but I think there's enough overlay.
I think 85 is still a chance, actually.
There's enough overlay here, and it's going to be a rake-free contest.
It'll be better than that for sure. I mean, look, your $7 will probably be worth $7.50 or something like that. And to me, I'm all in. Screw it.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, and somebody, friend of the show, Dave, who's in a lot of these streams and jumps in a lot of drafts with us, he was asking for football in the Badge Bros channel. What's the best contest to enter and for a low volume drafter? And my answer was it's hard to do a lot of volume in the Pomeranian, but getting into the Pomeranian with no rake is the best thing you can do as a low volume, low stakes person. So
which one's the Pomeranian?
It's the $3.20 max contest that lasts for a couple of hours only, but it's rake free.
Yeah.
So you're just adding so much value to your draft if you can get into drafts and have a reasonable strategy and you're not paying rake. It's just like a basic
It
of
overwhelmingly affects your win rate. It helps so much more than knowing anything about sports.
We've seen with these baseball ones, like starting with the pennant last year, where it had not much steam and then closed so hard to get. I think we got to like 85 or something, and I feel like most of these ones just end up falling in this 80, 85.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are gonna get all 150 in still, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll end up in that nice area where, underdog doesn't take a bath because there isn't a ton of overlay, and then everyone who, gets in good gets rewarded with, lower rake and fewer entries to compete with, kind of thing. So it's going to fall in the nice middle ground, I think, for us, where it's like both game not going to shrink, but still like an advantage for us that did get in. So it'll be good.
Yeah. And from my not secret, but just talking to Brendan Tuma about the regular season, the numbers and the new users for baseball look good. I think we're not in danger of the off season getting smaller. So just take advantage of this contest here. And
I can't believe how much underdog's grown.
Oh, it's insane.
There's like a fucking $1,000 contest for football in the lobby right now. Like, and it's what are we doing right now? I mean, how rich?
So I am going pitcher, a little bit more pitcher heavy here, but I am starting at a similar place before. I don't have the outfielder build up as the last draft. But Chip's saying the Pomeranian dropped on the 4th. It basically filled within hours, but
I literally didn't even get a chance to look at it. I haven't logged into Underdog because I haven't been able. I've been doing my slow draft picks for football, but I haven't been able to enter any contests for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but just reiterate that if you can get in action at no rake, like you're ahead of the game. So. Yeah, so let's get you on the Badge Bros. I'm calling it now, whether they like it or not.
I like the chat.
Yeah, Poodle fill 3 in 3 days, just an easy 30K profit for them. Yeah, and and their goal, Underdog's goal, is to get into the sportsbook game, and like they don't even they're. This is just building up their reputation at this point, right? I mean, I think football, best ball is always going to be a landmark thing for them. But
from a business perspective, do you know how valuable it is to get a 9-month loan on millions of dollars upon like over and over again? Like they probably have 25 million that they just have. They can like do anything they want with for till next December. I mean, it's wild. It's great. It's a great business model. And they take 10% of it on top of it. I mean, God, it's just so good.
Reverse interest. Yeah.
Yeah. And even without the sportsbook element of it, the pick'ems, I mean, I was on the home run derby. I lost $50 because I needed something to sweat on that home run derby night. So like it was just the picks I was making on that pick'em was just like, oh yeah, I know, but I had no idea for a home run derby. But
I had no idea there's these color distributions on the draft board here. The guy that's on the clock is only green and orange because he has no pitchers.
Yeah, he was Joe Candy is somebody who's started talking a little bit over in
that must be a PC only thing. I don't think that's a mobile thing.
Oh, that could be.
I don't do any drafts on PC. It's interesting.
Or no Bo Sox is all orange here.
No, I think that's because he took an orange player that round.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's only future picks.
Oh. See, I didn't even notice. Yeah. Yep.
I will admit, when all my casual friends talk about underdog, they always talk about their pick'ems, and I'm like, I don't even look at those. Like, I don't have. You know how much time it takes to like find plus EV pick'ems? It's like takes hours upon hours, and I'm like, I would have bet $50 for this. No, screw this. I'm done.
Oh, uh-oh, Nez. Get in trouble
Oh,
here.
got them. These are facts. Facts are facts.
The other person I know that I've met that uses underdog. Yeah, that's the exact same thing. He's like, well, it was part of a few years ago. I took down a work league, fantasy baseball league that they stopped running after I won it.
Yes, you're so good. You broke the league. We get it.
Yeah. I gotta say, add that every part. But
Right.
He's like, one day, just I don't know, 4 months ago, he comes up to me and is like, "Hey, you heard of this underdog thing?" And I was like, "Have I heard of underdog?" Let me tell you about how much time of my day I spend thinking about underdog. I didn't say that, but that's what I thought. He's like, "I do these pick'ems, and like, you're good at fantasy, so like, do you have any good pick'ems for today?" He like pulls up like some random golf tournament. I'm like, I have no idea who that golfer even is, but I will look at the pick'ems the next few days and see if there's any baseball one. But yeah, you're totally spot on. That's the thing, and even like
it's the blender that the fish just love to get slaughtered in. It's
and it's
bathhouse.
Entertainment.
Yeah, no, look. They're all my friends they're betting small because they love it.
It's funny you say this, Nez, because he did then go on to say, "Oh yeah, I look at the underdog subreddit, and sometimes I get my picks from there." So it's funny that you mention it as part of this story.
Free show idea to anyone. Just set up a stream. You Bad Bros, when you guys have a real slow day, nothing going on, just fire up the subreddit and start going through some posts. Go find some convos to hop into. Go start giving some advice to people in there. Like I think that'd be a good
invade the normies
content for the stream. Yeah, exactly.
It's bad enough looking at their Discord server. I don't want to look at their Reddit, which is already a place of filth to begin with.
Oh man.
Sorry, any of the Reddit users out there that are.
It is the front page of the internet for a reason.
True. I don't even know what's going on in this draft. All right, Chris, you have an awesome night. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys.
We're gonna have you back for some playoff discussion when that opens up. So
I can't wait. It's my favorite contest of the year, so we're gonna go all out for that one.
All right. Have a good night.
See you guys.
Good night.
The best thing about how many of the failed slips are talked about that, it was so close and or accusing something of being rigged.
Yeah, lots of strange minds wander over to Reddit. That is for sure.
All right, so let's take stock of what I got. I sort of lost.
All right, 4 pitchers. That's your preference. A little early. You like to have some solid arms.
This is a little stronger than I normally go, actually. Yeah. But I did grab Justin Turner here. I do want to add Boston to my queue. Okay. They do have. I like Duran. If you want to take a risk on Story. I'm out on Duvall, which
I agree.
We talked about earlier. I'm still somehow chasing Tristan Casas, even though he hasn't turned out this season. But I don't end up taking him. I add him to the queue a lot, but I don't take him much. So, yeah. And then Tatis, Nimmo, Turner, outfield, Alonzo, Goldschmidt. There's a joke. So yeah, this is a pretty, I don't know, not boring draft, but this is one just to keep clicking names.
Fair enough.
At whatever is getting up to close to 90 drafts, it does start to be hard to differentiate and think differently.
Absolutely.
Which is why I don't know. I never personally feel like I need to push to 150 on any contest. Even on dailies, I'm pretty low.
My desire to push is directly proportional to the overlay. And in
Yeah.
this contest, unfortunately, the overlay is going to at least be reasonable. So I'm definitely going to get my 40 more drafts in and get to the 150.
So, Ben, I have way too much Brandon Woodruff.
Yeah, I was going to say you're a big fan. That's what I
I'm
understand.
a big Brewers homer, and it was mostly.
I feel like because you're a Brewers homer, you'd be pretty cynical. You'd be very hard on your
I
team.
am on their offense, but it was, yeah, he's my top drafted player, 28.2%. Really, I think the cost is too high on him for the risk of a shoulder injury. He's been falling. I've taken him way too much earlier than this, but I think he has upside. Like, he could come back and be awesome. I just don't know when he's coming back, and the risk of re-injury is a problem. And really, it seemed like he was heading into like a good routine. He was going to be back like in a few weeks, maybe a week or two after the All-Star break, but then he hit like a roadblock, and that's when I stopped taking him, which is unfortunate. But and we have the Cubs piling up here, Swanson and Bellinger. I'm not going to get both, I don't think.
Bellinger's ADP shot up like 20 points. He was
Yeah.
going into like 130s recently.
But even with Swanson, it sounded like he is technically on the 10-day injured list, but that took place before the All-Star break, and he'll be back, I think, in a series. It's just a heel bruise.
I wouldn't sweat that. I would just draft him as
if
somewhat
you
normal. Cubs are another team that stick out to me, though. I always remember there's these stupid windy days at Wrigley where they're playing a 1:00 game. They score 19 runs because the wind's blowing 22 miles out. Like, those things are super real. Like, that has to come into play in one of these weeks, right?
Yeah, and the thing about the Cubs is you can stack them without like investing any high-priced pick. Like, you can
like you said, they were piling up at the top of the draft, at the top of the ADP list or whatever, just because people don't love them.
Yeah. So Ben, I also love Jordan Walker in this contest. I think
Pretty sure I have zero.
He benefits a lot from the Cardinals being bad this year. He's gonna, when they start selling off some pieces, I think his playing time is going to get even more solid. And he's a guy that has a young guy with talent that, let's see. Let's take.
Is there any chance he gets? Oh, you're on the clock here. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna build my.
Marte's not terrible.
Yeah, it's mostly age and falling off the cliff for him. But yeah, I like Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker. I think benefit a lot this season from the Cardinals being bad. They're not guys that are going to get traded away, and I think their playing time solidifies, which for the type of hitters they are, they have a ton of upside. The biggest problem is that they're both pretty prone to losing platoon risk and just being cold and getting sat if they have other guys in the outfield or whatever that they can play. But yeah, so I definitely don't hate it. Walker is a little bit expensive, but I do like it. And I keep saying it, but Wilson Contreras, if you're going off bat projections, is like a top 30 hitter for the rest of the season. So, and he's free. So if you want to put a little Cardinals stack together.
Where does the bat have some rest of the hitter rankings?
I'm going mostly off of just the daily projections and other people that have taken the time to make the points.
He is very frequently very high on the daily list. That
Yes.
according to the bat, that I know for sure.
Yep, exactly. Newbar's an interesting one. He's a guy that I think I took like in the first 5 drafts because he was free, and then he did not perform at all. Like way back when the first cash game contest opened before we had a tournament, I was like, I'm in on Newbar, all this off-season hype, and now I think he's got like a 200 ADP. So yeah, 208. So definitely have no problem taking him. He's not who we wanted him to be this season, but the underlying talent is there, I think. But yeah, so that's my Cardinals talk. I would not be taking them as much if they were good. So I just like these young guys and the like down the stretch opportunity that they're going to get because they're bad. I think the playing time and platooning and all that would be
a lot of that stuff's really hard to project, and a lot of it is really feel based. And I'm definitely at a disadvantage in this contest for that reason.
Yeah. All right, we're coming up here. I feel like at this point I could go pretty much anywhere. Jose Abreu is another guy that's really jumped up in ADP.
I'd probably be looking best available. I like Abreu, or I do love me some Fraley.
Yeah.
I would probably just grab the infielder personally, but
yeah, I think I'm actually going to take Andrew Vaughn here.
Sure.
He's at no risk of playing time, and I think who we got for White Sox. You can always taking a mid to late White Sox or even an early guy, Robert. You can kind of, if you want to pair another one later, you can pair some of these guys like Tim Anderson, Andrew Benintendi, all guys that have underperformed but had some underlying talent. And Jake Berger has home run upside.
Do the White Sox have the same wind upside that the Cubs do, or is it different?
It's different.
Yeah, it is different.
Yeah, they're not as close to
the lake. The water, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And it's different positioning. So the White Sox point southeast, I think, and the Cubs point towards the lake. I could be totally wrong, but Jake Fraley's still here. Let's grab him. He was someone that James McCool earlier on was talking up. So,
well, he is a Cincinnati Red, and I have a lot of Cincinnati Reds.
I do not, and I'm going to probably regret it.
You guys were talking earlier about some of your lineups with De La Cruz. Like, he's now at like top 10 ADP or whatever. Like, I didn't get a chance to go look at some of my lineups, but I had to have fallen into some. I definitely have some of them, but I just happened to be on such a small team pool that I was reaching on guys pretty frequently in certain spots. So I was just getting guys. I was aggressively taking them. So I have to have some really interesting teams. Obviously, if some of them have DeGrom, like one of your other guests was saying, all that's still possible.
Or McCullers, yeah.
Or McCullers or all that. But, those lineups have to be phenomenal, right? I
mean, yeah.
The first 100 drafts or whatever. I mean, one of them is probably going to, spike really strong.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't believe in Ellie this year. So
Well, where do you think he should be drafted?
I mean,
130th.
I
If
don't
that's
know.
like, you know what I'm saying?
I think
Like,
he should be down here. He should not be drafted over Jonathan India or Spencer Steer. And I think as he's not in the pool, but I think Matt McLean just is better rest of season for the Reds, but
not in pool.
he's not in the pool. And he's just an exciting pick, and that makes me like him less. And there is some bias for him being a Red. So
Gotta admit your biases.
Oh yeah.
Gotta admit your biases. That's super key. For me, it's just that the Reds have 29 games in the regular season of this contest, and that
yep.
I'm all in on that concept, right? I am almost exclusively. We talked about this on a different show. Anybody that's listening now, I'll go ahead and just bring it back up. I took an extremely aggressive approach. Let's call it from draft 10 to draft 110. I basically only used a pool of 9 teams, and those 9 teams have 29 or more games in the regular season period of this contest. So I am hoping to have a high advance rate and get lucky in the playoffs. Now, some of those also had I have an absolute monster load of Phillies. Phillies also have the most games in the finals, from what I understand, right? So there's like a couple lucky coincidences. Some of my teams actually worked out well in the other stretches where I actually didn't break down the math too much in the playoffs. To me, baseball is a lot about getting to the playoffs. There's going to be so much we don't know between then and now. I'm trying to have a high advance rate, and with that high advance rate, try to get lucky after the fact. So we'll see how it goes. I still haven't understood what's happened to Bryce Harper. Why is his ADP dropped to the 3rd round?
So he has, I think, 3 home runs on the entire season. So
is that luck or variance?
Well, this draft seems to have stopped, so that's cool. Hold on, let's figure that out.
Draft.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
Listener of the show, Benny Boys. And we're on the clock all of a sudden. Sorry.
All right.
Ha-Seong Kim. Duran.
That's in the queue. Yeah, let's do it. Let's take Kim here. To go with our Tatis earlier. I like Trent Grisham late.
Yep.
For the Padres, so yeah. But let's
always weirds me out that the bat has Grisham like the 4th or 5th best Padre, but he always bats 9th or 8th or something. I always get confused by he's weird to stack, and he obviously correlates with Tatis more than some of the other players actually, but it's just a weird stack piece. But he always projects well. He must, his home runs must be a big part of it.
Yeah, so Grisham is one of those guys that has a stolen base and home run sort of combination that will always have his median projection
look
fairly high.
Gotcha.
But he also has,
that's good.
He has a lot of zero. Yeah, he has a lot of zero opportunity too. So yeah,
those are the guys you want to roster, though. I'm glad that my comment about Luis Arias sparked all the threads and conversations and whatnot. I think that's just super interesting. When I see this guy having this historic season, having this massive floor, and when I drafted a lot of that guy in the damn near last round of my drafts, why am I not crushing this contest? What are the reasons? And it's pretty wild to me how rarely he's making it into my usable lineup. One thing I don't like about the underdog interface is that I would like to know a little more detail on the scoring. I think when I'm going through stuff, it only tells you what you used from that player, not what that player scored. And those are very different pieces of information. And I'm gonna forever be on this interesting conversation that if we have 6 outfielders or 7 in this contest, if you have a lot of home run hitters amongst them, they're going to hit home runs, right? And when they hit home runs, they have nice scores. And when they have nice scores, you put them in your lineups. And when they have bad scores, you don't need them, right? That's fine. It's almost like you want to have players that have some floor potential because you're going to have to sit players. They can't always be scoring max points. So really interesting overall thought process on what types of players it takes to win or to score points with.
The other thing it's hard to do in the interface is look at those week by week scorings.
Right.
It takes forever to load 1 week, and I swear it doesn't always load the week. It'll just load the full points, and that's really frustrating. So, yeah,
I guess like as a data scientist, I want to collect the data, right? So you're not going to tell me ownership. You're not going to tell me certain things. That's part of your interface. That's fine. But I want, like, if I am going to sweat this thing, I want to be able to learn from it while I'm doing it. So, that's just my thoughts. Obviously, I'm just a dumb guy that's clicking buttons, but
yeah. And I'll admit it's pretty frustrating how little it's changed since it was started. Like added
I have two thoughts. I mean, on one hand, it's really simple, but like that's kind of the beauty of it. And like I don't know that it needs to change. On the other hand, you're right. It's kind of overall, it's like pretty boring and pretty plain.
Yeah.
So
everybody brings it up all the time, but if I could just
I think big user interface changes are really risky at times. And like I think when you lose, like you have a chance of losing customers to things like that, where I don't know. I have so much memorized in this.
That's true.
That
even muscle memory, not
right.
Even
like think
about
memory. How often have we text each other, random Thursday slate? Oh man, a bunch of overlay. Let's get in whatever we can.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly auto drafting in a lot of those spots. I'll certainly set my ranks. I'll have some priorities. I'll set my ranks to be auto draftable. So what I mean by that is I'll make sure the pitchers that I'm forcing in, I'm not going to get any of the batters and such. But yeah, I kind of forgot the point I had there. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying to be able to sort on ranks and sort on ADP. That's the one. And the other thing that I find myself most wanting is the ability to, when you look up your exposure on a player or whatever, to look at all the lineups that you have.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Which, there's a third party, the Spike Week tools do that. But I don't really super want to pay $25 a month for it, which that's my own decision.
Right. Well, at least the tools are being built.
Yeah, but Underdog's also restricting how tools are being built on the system.
So let's talk about the tools. Okay. So I'm not like, number one, I love tools. Number two, I've built a bunch of tools. Like I've hired guys. I love tools. I love automation. I love gadgets. I know Brick, I think, was a guy that had something kind of banned. I didn't really follow the story that closely. Catch me up a little on that topic.
So for him, what it came down to is they didn't want him to have built a auto drafter. They wanted some more user input. So what they did end up allowing for his drafting tool was that it would give you queue suggestions. So you could queue the suggestions, but you had to do it. They didn't want you setting the queue automatically.
Yeah, I could program a tool, in theory. I'm saying out loud. I could think of what I could build the thing I would want by saying out loud what I would want to happen based on certain things and whatnot. So I definitely see where the idea came from. I think it's pretty fascinating. You're on the clock here, so I'm not going to disrupt you.
It's definitely interesting from your standpoint with like coming from the online poker tools that exist too.
Yeah, I spend a lot on tools just to be able to play online poker, and that's somewhat of a dying market, truthfully.
The tools are online poker.
Online poker is kind of a dying place to participate in. There's just way too many solvers and people that can use them, and anything that's played for real high stakes is somewhat sketch right now, in my opinion, where you're just playing against computers more or less, and computers can imagine every possible combination and humans cannot, and they can run computationals on every combination and humans cannot. So it's pretty wild what's happening in many of those areas.
Yeah, and as a user of Underdog, I don't want that to be the Underdog experience. So
Right.
I get why they're limiting stuff, but everything's eventual too. So somebody's going to get around their restrictions.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one of the many forms of cheating.
You might know what this means.
I do know exactly what that means. He basically he's the poster child for what I've described, for having supercomputers doing the poker work for you, but doing it in a way that he's accessing it during play and essentially going to God for answers to God to questions. Like I don't know how else to put it in simple terms, but there's like one of the courses or one of the coaching stables I trained under, they had a 300 million hand database where they would use data science and gather broad strategies and, create winning strategies. Like we would work together as a team. Okay, we have all this data. Let's find exploits. Let's, this is what the player pool is doing. But it wasn't use this software that's running alongside your computer. It's running on a different computer because the site can detect it if it's running on your actual computer. So you have to find other ways to obfuscate it. So that, there's just like the running joke inside the poker community is like they just run the dream machine or whatever. And like also the computational power, who knows how many graphics cards it takes to run this type of computational power. It might look like a server room in there. We don't actually know, right? It's just really wild stuff.
So how is he accessing it in
online games? He's sitting in his office.
Okay. And then so he debuted in person.
He played he's been blacklisted from the community, basically, shunned, and people are openly talking, disrespectful to him. They'll throw shit at him probably. Like he's not gonna have a pleasant experience walking through the hallways of the World Series.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and there's. When it comes to that sort of tools versus click on that
Eagles guy. He definitely auto drafted. I just want to see how weird this team came out because I think I saw 8 pictures. It's a lot of pictures in a row.
Yeah, so he's a super NFL grinder that I think is trying to get some.
Yeah, just overlay chase
here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like see where my edges really lie right now.
This is definitely an auto draft.
Yeah, this team doesn't look very good. He's just gambling. Good for him.
But yeah, it's interesting when it comes to this whole discussion because of it's if you boil it all down to it's like people versus machines, like it's even beyond a stupid game that we play for money. It's like philosophical, emotional stuff gets into.
You're absolutely right. It's a really deep conversation.
So I certainly don't have much to contribute to that. I just know I'd like to keep playing on Underdog.
Yeah.
So
understood. Sorry for the side tangent there.
No, I think it's great. It's definitely nice after 3 drafts to talk about something like that. So I'm building the back Padre stack here to go along with that Tatis start. I get Kim, Cronenworth, Grisham. I haven't done this much. Cronenworth's really underperformed this year, and the ADP has shot up on Kim, who's had like some hot baseball before the All-Star break. So, but we're gonna do it here. Get different than what I've been doing. 666 build. I'm pretty comfortable where this pitcher is at 6. I don't think I'm going to add a 7th. And my infield, I feel good about everything. So I'm just going to end up going 677.
How do you want to round out your stacks?
That's the question, is if I want to go stacks or if I want to pick a couple of scroll down players.
Fair enough. Wilson Contreras, we mentioned.
Yeah,
Rowdy
I talked
Tellez,
about,
that's a low ADP on him.
yeah.
Talk to me about Rowdy.
He's on the IL right now. I don't know if he's actually injured or if it's a like you need a break, son, sort of.
Okay, fair enough. That could be real bad.
The issue is playing time. He can hit a lot of home runs if he's running hot. But like
He's only got 12 homers this year.
Yeah, which isn't low. I'm going to take Wilson Contreras here just because I love that daily projection on him. I have Goldschmidt. He's batting close to Goldschmidt in the lineup, but no. So like just from watching Brewers games, I'm probably biased against the upside of Rowdy Tellez because like he'll against a righty starter, he'll bat 3 times, and then he'll get on base and they'll pinch hit or pinch run for him. So it's not even that he's even getting pitch hit for on the 4th. He's not even getting like upside of him being on
scoring
the
his runs.
Yeah, so he's not even scoring his third at bat runs. So the power upside is there, but I just can't do it. It's rough. I totally understand if people are taking him at that like absurd price, though.
He's a guy that I just always feel like projects well, and can you guys roast my team?
We'll check out Ben's team after we're done.
Well, if you have 8 pitchers, 3 infielders, and 4 outfielders like the other guy did, I will probably roast it.
All right, so yeah, we're looking for one more outfielder. How many White Sox? I had Andrew Vaughn. I don't need to force an Andrew Benintendi.
Okay.
Just for an outfield correlation there.
Not with that attitude.
You're right. I'm sorry. Let's just scroll down and find a name.
Winker?
Yeah,
I just keep accidentally bringing up Brewers.
Yeah, all the underperforming Brewers. You just want to go. Well, I mean, that's mostly offensive here, but yeah.
All these guys are completely unowned, right? That's the way you view this category.
Yeah, for the most part.
When I see 239, I'm assuming they're not in most drafts.
Yeah, one person drafted them in the last couple of days.
Yeah, they've been drafted, but like very occasionally.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. Seth Brown, who actually has been playing bad enough that I don't know if he has much trade value. Here's actually an interesting one to go with. Andrew Vaughn. Nez is looking for some sauce afterwards too. Oscar Colas, who hasn't seemed like he's adjusted. He's might be a quadruple A sort of player, but he's still sort of young. But it's weird, some of these guys that come from Cuba actually get called up at a little bit older age. I don't trust.
So is Avisel Garcia coming back anytime soon?
Remains shut down as of 21 days ago. I haven't heard any news on him. So here's an interesting
I like
one.
Kepler a lot.
Yeah,
I own a lot of Kepler because he's in Minnesota's in my 9 teams. So I've forced in quite a bit of Kepler because I get Buxton around 70 quite a bit.
I mean, if you're going late Milwaukee, I like Brian Anderson the most, but even he's kind of fallen off as the season's gone on. He's turned into kind
Mitch
of blanky.
Haniger?
He's out for injury. He won't be back.
All right. Kyle Garlick.
Yeah, so I think I like this Max Kepler. He has weekly upside, and he's not drafted in every draft. So we're going to do that. Let's see. Is Ben... Well, he's got one more pick, and then we'll check him out. So if you go back and watch some streams, Ben, I've been saying the Cardinals are going to come back. Like the Cardinals magic is like a real thing. Like they've had years and years of like success. So I really do think that this is a blip sort of thing for them. They have talent, and they have a good core with Goldschmidt and Arenado. That like the biggest problem with Cardinals overall to me is just that their pitching and that they haven't valued strikeouts as the rest of the league has valued strikeouts in the modern era. So I don't know what's going on there exactly, but I think it's just a blip. That, I mean, after running hot for so many years, you're going to have a bad season. So
all right, so let me retort real quick.
Okay.
NL Central, Reds are in first place. Brewers 1 game back.
Yep.
Cardinals 11 and a half games back. So what I'm hearing you say is you think that they're live to make a comeback here of some sort.
No, the general manager just came out the other day, said that he's going to start trading guys away. So
okay,
I don't think it's going to happen.
Gotcha. Because I do have a nice Brewers ticket to win the division.
Okay. I would wait for a trade to put any more money down or put any money on the Cardinals, because like that division's bad enough that they could trade somebody away and randomly win it, but they are pretty far behind.
I got Brewers minus 125 to win the division.
What are the odds on the Cardinals right now?
Yeah,
the Reds.
Let's look.
That might be an interesting red spot more than a Cardinal spot.
Yeah, no, I just want to talk about it. So right now the Brewers, at this one particular book that I'm using, they're minus 130 still. And the Reds are basically even. And like everyone else is like dead.
Okay. Yeah. All the projection models still have the Brewers, and even like the opinion models, we'll call it, people talking, still think the Brewers are going to do it. But there's definitely a growing a trend towards the Reds. They're trending up while the Brewers are just like hovering, sort of thing. But
I got Reds to win the National League, Reds to win the World Series at 25-1 and 65-1.
Okay, so that seems to me just like a stand.
Yeah, if the Reds go on a tear and win the division and make the playoffs, I'll probably just be fine with those tickets.
Yeah. All right, let's check out Ben's team. Not
all
your.
Right. Sorry,
I'm kidding. That's perfectly fine. Ben's got a 6.86. Not a build I do a lot, but definitely got there a couple of times. Zach Gallen, Max Scherzer, Mitch Keller, Hunter Brown, Jose Barrios. Got a nice Hanker and Gallen, a guy that could overperform his ADP in Scherzer.
Yeah, I like Gallen a lot.
Keller has got good games. I still don't know what to make of Keller. I've been taking him. I love Hunter Brown as far as Houston needing somebody to step up, and he's the most outside of Valdez. He's the most like strikeout upside guy around there. And I said it earlier, and he's got Ranger Suarez too here, who I don't love, but he's fine. But I think Jose Barrios is really underrated this season. he had such a bad season last year. Everybody's sort of ignoring that he's okay this year, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. I have a lot of Barrios too for that reason.
All right, so infield, I see where you went to 8.
Okay, so you went Seager at 21 overall, and then you didn't get back there to 100 overall. Okay, I might end up with. I would definitely be 7 there.
Yep.
I don't know that I end up at 8. I might end up 8. This is. I would have probably stuck with 7 with Seager in there. If I had waited till maybe the 40s or 50s for my first player at that position, I think that's when I tend to go 8. That's just me personally.
Yep, I understand. We'll see what his outfield looks
but
like.
I guess your third one wasn't until 165. Maybe I kind of need to retract that.
Okay,
I didn't notice how much you ignored that position. I don't know if that's good or bad. You likely have a very unique team. You likely have a very how many teams have Candelario, Gorman, Durrell, Votto, Wisdom? These guys all project fine on a daily basis. They all are reasonable as far as the bat's concerned, as far as I can tell. That seems very reasonable. It's interesting. I don't know. I've never really thought about it this way. It's almost like a zero infielder build, right? Like conceptually, yeah. Obviously, you have Seager, so it's not really zero. But
yeah,
I actually don't know if I'm roasting or trying to learn from this part. I'm just
he asked how we felt, so he wasn't trying to get roasted. So I'm not being overly roasty here. I don't. Oh, he's got. There's the last one. Carlos Santana is.
Yeah, we stopped at 7. That's what we think to do.
He is not drafted much, and he's had some good weeks for Pittsburgh. I like him better than Patrick Wisdom, and he's drafted in far less drafts than Patrick Wisdom. But yeah. Mookie, Cedric Mullins, who has definitely upside in his ADP. Lane Thomas, who I don't trust rest of season to keep up what he's done, but he's still not like super expensive for what he's done. Ian Happ's been a quiet accumulator this year again, and we already talked about Jordan Walker, and I don't love Jack Swinski, but he has a ton of home run upside. So this is a really unique team. I think you said it, and there's correlation.
My other thoughts, though, is I don't know how much correlation you have if I'm looking at it.
Let's see. Yeah, Seager, Duran,
little Cardinals,
and a little bit, yeah. So maybe it's lacking in correlation, but it's a unique structure. But I don't think it's a bad structure. So, but now Nez wanted us to sauce his team, so we're gonna look at that in a different light.
I want to be clear. I'm not qualified to sauce anyone's team. I will for the laughs and for the LOLs, but.
Well, we're on the way out here, so
yeah,
a lot of minis. So if I'm doing a lot of minis, I still like to have one team that I have like 3 or 4 of. But yeah, so Nez has got Framber Valdez, Tyler Glasnow, Sandy Alcantara, Kadai Senga, and Tariq Skubal. That's 5 pitchers.
It seems thin to me.
It seems thin.
I agree that they are relatively strong as far as like at least the first 3 to 4.
Yeah, your best scenario here is that.
Are we buying the Skubal steam here? His ADP was undrafted like 2 weeks ago.
I am a little bit, just because I think that where he's going, the pitchers have thinned out. I think the guys that have upside have gone up, and he's gone up with them. But there's this like group of guys that stay the same that aren't high strikeout guys. So I think he has that strikeout upside. So I am still taking him. But yeah, if I've been trying to get better at my YouTube game, but I don't have the time or the skills to do it. I did put out a short the other day showing where back like a month ago, where I was telling people to draft Tariq Skubal, but when he was undrafted. So check that out. And hey, maybe you should watch the show once in a while, you jerk.
I try.
Who's watching there? No, not you. The people that are watching now. I'm just I'm just going off the rails now at this point.
Yeah, no worries.
Infielders in Nez's team: Rafael Devers, Gunnar Henderson, Josh Naylor, Anthony Rizzo, Ryan Mountcastle, JD Davis, and Ryan Noda. That's actually a nice late round pick that's not being drafted.
Noda does project quite well on a regular basis, and it's not a bad pick at the end there.
Yeah, I'm having actually trouble saucing Nez's team here. I like this team. Start with Otani at pick 2, fine. Brian Reynolds has ability to get value at ADP. Yoshida's, I think, going where he should be going. Put Duran. I don't know that I love chasing Duran up the ADP as he goes up. Luke Raley, Andrew McCutcheon, Ramon Laureano. I don't trust Ramon Laureano to do anything this season, but yeah, seems like a fine team. I can't really sauce it.
How bad can it be?
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst? You lose $7, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I highly recommend upgrading to the recliner for the computer chair. It's
well,
one of the biggest
still on this
moves I've made.
I'm still on this old $15 headphone thing that I need to do some tech upgrades in the off season. But Michael, thank
After
you
you win this contest.
Yes,
you can upgrade
that's what
all
I'm
the
waiting
equipment.
for. Win this and the dinger and the perfect game. I don't know. I just want a final sweat on one of these contests that I'm spending so much time on. Really.
I am the defending playoff hockey champion. Thank you very much. I will be tooting that horn as long as I can.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you for joining me when I'm starting to get loopy. I appreciate
That's when I shine.
And I appreciate everybody that hung out through this all or joined at any point in this. Let's see. We are closing in on 4 hours, which was my goal on this draft on the stream was to get to 4 hours, see if I could do it.
Nailed it.
So shout out to James McCool, Nick Schlane, Numi, and baseball / Chris and you, Mike. So thank you everybody for watching, and usually I say have a good weekend, but have a good cram of trying to get lineups into this contest.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Bye.